Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality of us here, and welcome to Live and Wired, the show that still happens at some kind of regular schedule.
Unlike anything else on Decker's channel.
Unlike anything else on any of my channels.
Yeah, pretty much so. But
admittedly, I've fallen behind too. A pot calling kettle black.
Yeah.
So, joining as always, and as you have seen, that long-haired creepy guy.
Yo.
And the true power behind making sure this show actually happens, Patricia Miranda.
You're too kind, but thank you. I really do appreciate it.
I doubt to, guy. You without this. Have you seen the episodes where you're late?
He's not lying. But thank you for being here. This lowers my stress level considerably.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it, guys. So a few days ago was Thanksgiving. So how was yours?
Which one of us?
Yeah.
I don't know. Fight to the death. I don't know.
I just always assume that it's me. So, I actually had two. I had one on Wednesday night, and I had one Thursday afternoon. So both of them, one was good, the other was acceptable-ish. And Friday, I pretty much stayed sequestered inside of my house, like, all day long. I left to check the mail. And that was the extent of me going outside because it was Black Friday.
Yay! I went out on Black Friday yesterday to get a few clothes because it was getting chilly, and me coming from Florida, I didn't have jackets or gloves and scarves. What a concept, I know. So I actually got that stuff for the first time in 18 years. So that was quite an experience.
Oh, yeah. Also, the chat has kind of blown up. I haven't really talked about it. It's like Michaelina said hello early on. They got the little badge, so it's easy to see. Can you review Idle Hands, TIE Fighter short film? Epic Jason X9000 says live and weird.
That is our Bizarro title of Live and Wired.
Boy. Suicide Gamer says, you are all legends. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Aaron Smith asks, are you anime fans? And
yes.
That's a simple, short answer, yes. Long answer is about 5 episodes worth of answer. So,
yeah. Short answer, yes. Long answer, we will be discussing about a particular anime later on in the show, so stay tuned.
And one person was asking if anyone else is getting a black screen, and I think it's just Patricia's camera. It's been having issues. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on with my camera. It has not been working. I either need to go to Best Buy and see if I can get it fixed, or I need to probably get in touch
with the Geek Squad.
Yeah, there you go. I'll call Geek Squad and see if maybe I can have somebody take a look into my webcam and see what is wrong with it. Like, seriously, this has been really irritating.
Also, we have a cat in the mirror walking across what looks like a headboard.
Yeah, she's down here now. There. Okay, but how did my Thanksgiving go? I had several.
Oh, nice.
It's like you had both ends of it, because my fiance's family, we had that Thanksgiving over here in the giant ass house. Her giant ass house, not this house. This house is not giant ass, but that house is so giant ass that this house is technically part of that house. So it gives you an idea of the giant assness of this house.
Mm-hmm.
They had things were. They got a little story here. They had the big Thanksgiving with the big family, over 20 guests. Big. So they had all kinds of things set up with this dressing and the pies, and people bringing other things. They brought pecan pies, apple pies. I brought 2 pumpkin pies. Those were ready right away. They had a air fried turkey, and it's a damn good thing they had that, because I also had a turkey. I got myself a 20-pound turkey.
Whoa!
To brine the hell out of and roast to perfection and put on garnish and present it like this is going to be great. I got up early that day to make sure that it would be ready on time. Everyone was to show up by 1 p.m. So I had to get that turkey roasted. I had prepared it for so long, got so many things, went double check, triple check, got everything going. Got the brine going, got the aromatics. I got it out, got the oil on it, put it in the oven at 500 degrees for 30 minutes to crisp that skin up. It canola oil on the bird. And I got it out of there, and I stuck foil over the breast to slow down how fast the breast would cook and cook it around the same time that the leg meat would be done. So then I put that back in 325. I'm like, okay, this should take 4 hours, maybe 5. We'll see what happens. 2.5 hours later, the probe thermometer I have in it has stopped climbing in temperature completely. In fact, it's gone down a few degrees. I'm like, what the fuck? And I go and I touch the stove. It's not on.
Uh-oh.
It was still hot from the 500 degrees for a little bit, but not for too long. And the thing was, it's a little janky. It didn't quite close all the way. And it never actually got it set to 325. So I eventually fought it, got it closed, set it to 325, and then had to wait for it to heat back up and get everything going again. And by the time it got out, and I roasted some potatoes and got the garnish all clean, like the mustard greens and the grape tomatoes all cleaned off with the red potatoes roasted and spiced with oil. Beautiful potatoes. Just all around it in a nice little dish. This beautiful turkey.
Mm.
It was like 5 at night, and everyone had already left.
I'm sorry. Well, while you're sitting there moping about your turkey, we actually have a $4.99 comment from Mickey Coleman who says, "Hey guys, huge fan by the way. Are there any sci-fi/horror movies based around Black Friday?"
Oh, I remember one Black Friday early on the review show, I did Chopping Mall, which is also known as Killbots, which isn't necessarily Black Friday themed, but it's about a mall, and yeah, it's close enough. People in a mall getting killed by security robots. So, but
Black Friday, people go to Walmart, Target, or to the local shopping mall.
And Dawn of the Dead is always one that people point out. Not necessarily that it is a Black Friday movie, but there's more than a little bit of social commentary to the zombies in the mall.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Whew. Second Thanksgiving happened today. Today's been busy. But the twins, they had to reschedule their Thanksgiving because their mother had work. That happens a lot when you work anywhere. Like creepy. I'm pretty sure when you worked at Walmart, Thanksgiving had to be rescheduled sometimes. At least if people cared about you being there.
No one ever rescheduled a Thanksgiving because I wasn't. Actually, the funny thing is, though, when I worked at Walmart, give me a second. I think it was, yeah, like when I first started working there, like in the very, very beginning, I think I want to say I had Wednesday and Thursday off. And then, like, I didn't really start having to work on Thanksgiving until a couple of days later, like when I was on the night shift, and I was sleeping during the day anyway, so I missed Thanksgiving because I was tired. And then, so yeah, I would be there for Black Friday or Thanksgiving, but I wouldn't really, or yeah, like I would have a Thursday off then afterwards, so I was there, but usually I was scheduled for the evening to night shift. Like I not the graveyard shift, but I wouldn't get off until like 9. So I would miss most of the Black Friday craziness, but I still remember, like, it wasn't just Black Friday. It was like the entire month of November and December where it seemed like people suddenly went nuts.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
You know, like, there's like a thing, you know, working in retail where people will tell you that if you can get through your first holiday rush, you'll be okay. They usually tell this to people who start working in the spring and summer, when things are, I don't want to say calm exactly, but when things are comparatively not as stressful. Things are a little bit calmer, things are, just less insane all year. But then as you get closer and closer to October, they start warning you this is going to be hell. So if you can get through this first year, you've arrived. Mm-hmm. So it's not really Black Friday. It's like 3 months of some kind of horrific, perverse fraternity initiation ritual. Try to imagine if you can.
But yeah, so today they had to reschedule the twins' Thanksgiving for today, and myself and my fiance were invited to that one as well. So we went, of course, had nice ham. This time a very small, modest, just 5 people. That was a Thanksgiving. We had a ham, we had corn, we had mashed potatoes, we had some crescent rolls. Played Fallout. Okay, Mikey Coleman dropped $5 saying, "So true, creepy, worked at a grocery store. Thanksgiving sucks." There were some other comments earlier that I wanted to mention. Saw one from Satoshi Katsumoto. There he goes. Missed your opinions about Detective Ryan Reynolds. I mean Pikachu. And no, we haven't talked about that yet. We just barely started this.
Right.
And we were just talking about our Thanksgiving.
And I believe Leading Blind, was asking if you could provide the secrets of the Great Value brand.
Ooh, what is the secrets?
Creepy? Are you just going to ignore that?
I think he's going to be silent about it. I think it's one of those, I could tell you, but I have to kill you moments.
Or I could tell you, but then I'll have to get killed, so no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I could do it. I could do it. But that would require me to A, care, B, pay attention, and C, take Decker with me. And, I've already had to drive all the way out to Texas once before. I'm not looking forward to doing that again. Like, anytime soon.
Serial Killer dropped $5 saying, "Your guys' favorite DLC? Mine is Dying Light, the following. Love both Dying Light and the following." And I think I'll go first because I kind of already know like that. It's got to be the Shivering Isles from Elder Scrolls Oblivion, because it was just such a vastly different world than Cyrodiil and Oblivion. It was just crazy, and I loved the crazy. Sheogorath, that was the first big introduction to Sheogorath for me, and holy hell, was it fun.
Yeah, I'll probably have to say the same thing because my cousin's a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and I remember when he first got it. I think those were probably one of the first concepts of DLC that I probably have heard of. And
horse armor.
He never got the horse armor.
Oh, I got the horse armor. I sorry.
Yeah, he never got the horse armor. But yeah, I remember when he was playing around the area and he was like meeting up with the other characters and doing the weird missions and meeting up with Sheogorath eventually. And then, he was just talking about such strange things about like, cutting up persons from the insides and cheese for everyone. So I thought that was pretty funny. I rarely buy DLC myself unless it's like worth it to like explore into some new territories and interact with some new people. But yeah, I've been seeing the concepts of DLC, and it's been getting a bit sketchy for me personally in terms of like paying various money so the game could work. So yeah, I if anybody can tell me some really good DLC to check out, then I'll definitely consider it.
Uncreative Deconstructionism says, "Oh, geez, you got the horse armor." LMAO.
Yeah. We have a moment of silence for Decker's wallet. For spend a few dollars on horse armor.
At least I put the elven armor on my horse. If I did make another character and put the iron armor on it just to see what it looked like, and dear God, that's the ugliest damn armor. Yeah.
We have a $5 comment from James Conlon who says, Decker, any cool plans for Dino-Sember? Love your show.
See, Dino-Sember requires a thing called being able to keep to a schedule. So, I mean, I love doing Dino-Sember. I really enjoyed it because it's, it's December, it's winter, everyone's in the Christmas spirit. And there's something to be said about that being nice, festive, but at the same time, just having something else, like, here's the tradition over here. Fucking dinosaurs. It's just fun. So I like that, but I don't have any on hand, and I really want to get started on the next review soon. And one thing I do happen to have with me is a little thing you might have heard of here. It's just a trilogy collection. It's just a couple of movies. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I can review them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, all right. I guess. Okay.
Now, if you want low budget dinosaurs, it's up to you. I want low budget dinosaurs, but I think I'm going to do RoboCop.
There you go, Robo-Sember.
Robo-Sember.
Yeah, Robo-Sember.
Robo-Santa.
Robo-Santa, nice.
Robo, you worry.
Just imagine getting in a horrible sleigh accident and then having to become cybernetically enhanced to continue giving children presents.
We got a couple of comments. $20 comment from Savage Tiger 13 who says, Hey Decker, really sick today, so I can't hang out today. Need to get back in bed, but sick or not, still going to be there to support you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Savage Tiger. But remember to keep enough to pay whatever medicine or medical bills you have. That's kind of important too. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And $2 comment from Goku's on DBZ who says, Who wins? Freddy versus Jason versus Michael Myers?
You see, Freddy is like, what I'm trying to think of this like seriously. It's like, Michael, is he human or is he cursed human that kind of has this immortality thing going on until he kills people he needs to kill? In which case, then the curse is transplanted. And then is the curse the villain or is the person the villain? And in that case, would the curse therefore be immortal and unkillable?
And then you have Freddy, who haunts people in their dreams, versus Jason, who is a zombie, so...
And he has been killed, but then isn't.
Yeah, he has been killed, but that hasn't really slowed him down, at all. So I'm like, this actually merits some serious debate.
Yeah, very much so. It actually brings up the question about, who would die...
Oh, God. Santa Claus conquers the predators.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could wonder, who is the one who's been giving the predators their weaponry? Santa, of course. If Santa Claus can conquer the Martians, then they can conquer the predators.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, we got a lot of stuff to cover today.
A lot.
Yeah, personally, my Thanksgiving was pretty good. Had family over, and we went out to a safari where we pet animals and fed giraffes and goats and stuff. So that was fun. Yeah, so let's get things started with our first bit of news. I guess we can go ahead. Should
we start off with the title?
Yes, let's start things off with the title because, man, everybody's been talking about it over the past couple of weeks. It is insane.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign. Maybe it won't suck.
Well, I mean, not necessarily that it won't suck. I just mean it's a good sign that the movie's probably going to do well on opening weekend.
Okay, maybe it won't. It won't 30% suck.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so yes, we're talking, of course, about Detective Pikachu. The trailer just landed a couple of weeks ago, and it has Ryan Reynolds as the titular Pokemon. Mm-hmm. And I'll read the first one. The first official trailer for the upcoming Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie has officially arrived, giving our first look at the film in action. As you can see above, the trailer gives us a good look at how the Pokemon has been adapted to work on the big screen alongside with their human counterparts, with Detective Pikachu himself, Mr. Mime, Jigglypuff, Charizard, Greninja, and more, all starring in the clip. As mentioned in the recent early screening report, the characters have a real-world art style to them, which takes a little getting used to at first, but certainly leaves a lasting impression. We also get to see a nice, fan-friendly level of detail plastered through each scene. The house is full of posters and artwork that look like they belong in the real Pokemon world, with references to not as famous elements of the game too, and the Mr. Mime scene provides a very interesting and comical take on the character, with Ryan Reynolds starring as Pikachu, Justice Smith playing Tim Goodman, and other stars such as Catherine Newton and Ken Watanabe joining the cast too. This strikes us as having a great deal of potential. The movie hits the cinema on the 10th of May, 2019.
So, yeah, there's an interesting trailer. I already saw earlier in the chat there was people quoting the trailer saying, "I will electrocute you." White Wolf 715 dropped $10 saying, "Hey Decker, is there any chance we will see you cover Romero's Living Dead series, including the remakes of both Night and Dawn, sometime in the future? Just curious. Love your channel." And that would be an interesting. The Living Dead, like, there's just so much to dig into there, not just in the actual Romero series, but all the different little spin-offs and side things and sort of sequels.
Yeah, we did talk about this when we were discussing about that. There's going to be this official sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and as mentioned, that since Night of the Living Dead has been public domain, then there's so many incarnations of the Dead series, whether it be unofficial or official by Romero.
Yeah, technically, everyone who worked on the original movie, almost down to including extras, if not actually including extras, has sequel rights.
Right.
Yes.
Could technically make a sequel movie to the original Dead film if they wanted to, and of course, if they have the means to.
Yeah, and Ruth Ford and Toby Kirkby says, "The Summer of the Living Dead," or "The Summer of George Romero." So that means that if it is going to be the summer of George Romero, then he can cover movies other than Night of the Living Dead and the other Dead movies.
Nick Arna dropped $2 saying, "Call it Cyborg Sember for RoboCop."
That's actually not bad.
That's a good one.
That's not bad at all.
And now I'm going to have to owe you back those $2 in royalties.
Actually, Summer of the Dead would be really good. It rolls off the tongue. The Summer of the Dead rolls off the tongue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that could be good, too.
On the topic of Detective Pikachu, the trailer seems to have... I have seen more people happy with it, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen, and in the chat, there's been quite a few comments not speaking so greatly on the trailer.
Corey 2000 says, "Dismember." That's a good one, actually. Good pun.
Very true.
Let's see. Scott Duncan says, "Hey, Decker, Creepy, and Patricia, what Dragon Ball Saiyans, not human android else, would y'all want to be? And do you have to have 3 or 5? And y'all thought of 2 non-canons coming back in Dragon Ball Super Broly?" Okay, so the question is, which Dragon Ball Saiyans would we want to be? And which 2 non-canon characters would you like to see come back in Dragon Ball Super Broly?
Hercule.
Okay. Mr. Satan is not a Saiyan, but
no. He is. He's just that incompetent.
The funny thing about it is, though, Hercule Satan is actually really is the strongest fighter on the planet if you don't count any of the Z fighters. Like, if you don't count the Nameks, the Saiyans, or any of the humans who have trained, under King Kai, or, had any really super advanced, training that gives them superpowers, then Hercule Satan is, he is the strongest fighter. But the problem is, Well, twofold. One, he is hopelessly outclassed by said Z fighters, and two, his pride and ego are such that he will never admit that, yeah, they do outclass him.
Yeah, I mean, as mentioned in the manga and in the anime, in order for him to continue to do well in various tournaments, then Mr. Satan has to pay Boo various money or maybe even like food, containing, keeping his title, and then eventually, I think it was in GT in which he officially retired, or maybe the end of Z. But regardless.
Shannon Jones mentions actually his daughter is stronger than him, but I believe his daughter counts as a Z fighter.
That's a really good question. Does Videl count as a Z fighter? I mean, she's married to Gohan, so
I think she is a Z fighter by technicality.
by technicality.
Right. And I don't say this because I dislike Videl. I actually did like her quite a lot. But I don't think she is quite at the level to be considered a Z fighter full time, although she is definitely stronger than her father. And while she's not like Saiyan levels of strong, she is competent enough to be able to handle herself during battles, because she becomes Gohan's partner when he's working as Great Saiyaman.
Mm-hmm.
Nerdbane says that they think Chi-Chi is tougher than Hercule.
Ooh.
That's believable, because I mean, let's not forget we've seen Chi-Chi throw grown men out windows and like several feet across a yard. So
yeah, exactly. In the original Dragon Ball, she did compete in the 23rd tournament. But to be fair, she did it so that she can be able to remind Goku, "Hey, remember that promise that you made when you were 5 that we were supposed to get married someday?" So there's that, and also the fact that when Goku was dead and he was in Otherworld, Chi-Chi was the one who was training Goten, not Gohan, because he was busy in high school.
Right. I always felt that was very, very interesting, considering the fuss that Chi-Chi put up about Gohan learning to fight. She was like constantly pushing for him to improve his studies and become a scholar, become a learned man instead of becoming a fighter like his father and she was. But at the same time, she turns around and trains Goten to be a Z fighter herself, and then when Goten somehow manages to become Super Saiyan, she bursts into tears. I mean, like, you gotta marvel at the thought process that is going through her head. And I'm sorry, but like, there was a certain point after I saw that I was just kind of like, good God, woman, make up your mind already.
Also, Goku's on BBC dropped $2 saying, "Decker, what is your favorite slasher series?" And right now, I think probably Friday the 13th.
Oh, nice.
I really like the concepts on Nightmare on Elm Street, but I feel like the execution kind of didn't hold up to what it could have. Whereas Friday the 13th was kind of the flip side. The concept really wasn't very complicated at all, but they had some really good movies out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like the other way around. I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street is superior to Friday the 13th, but I will admit that there are some questionable movies, in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And, well, just as a counterpoint to what you said earlier, Decker, that the movies didn't really live up to their full potential. We saw what happened when someone tried to reboot the Nightmare on Elm Street series and make it live up to its full potential. That didn't either. I was literally there for that, remember?
Yeah.
Good times. Anyway, as for like non-canon characters of DB, I don't really know. Like, pretty much most of the non-canon characters are just like they're sort of like renditions of like the characters that came from the manga and the anime. Like Cooler, who's Frieza's brother, is basically just Frieza 2.0. Lord Slug is King Piccolo, and then there's Turles, who is essentially a darker version of Goku many years before Goku Black.
Brandon Kilgore says, I would have thought Hellraiser, but then Judgment came out. But Hellraiser is started really good. Second one held on pretty well. Third started drop. Fourth was somehow actually a bit lower. Then 5 on is just what the hell.
Yeah. Well, we'll discuss about Hellraiser tonight because there's a really interesting article about it.
Yay.
Yay. But yeah, I can't really think of any particular non-canon character. I mean, I guess the only one that does seem to really stand out in terms of everybody just made it officially canon were Broly and Bardock, because believe it or not, Toriyama did not create Bardock. Somebody from the studio when they were coming up with ideas of making DB movies, they came up with the concept of Bardock, father of Goku, and then they made the special of it. And then Toriyama really did like the idea, and so he did his own version of it in Dragon Ball Minus, which I believe that they're going to implement that story into the new Broly movie. So that should be interesting.
Leading Blind's asking, can you cut straight to the Hellraiser news, please?
Oh,
I feel like we
sorry.
haven't actually talked about Detective Pikachu enough.
I mean, okay. So yeah, Detective Pikachu. Final words. I'm actually really interested in checking out the movie. I am really curious about how they're going to be able to, pull off the real world with Pokemon. It's something that I've always wanted to see into fruition. So I can't wait for it.
So yeah, Personally, I was wondering why the hell would anyone make a movie out of this? And then as soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, okay, I gotta see this with my fiance. I gotta bring us down there. We gotta watch it day one as soon as we can.
Yeah. Okay. So for that person who wanted to see the Hellraiser news, okay, here you go.
If I can get this damn thing to frickin'... There we go.
There we go. Okay, so unmade Hellraiser remake retconned Pinhead's origin story.
Because that's always a smart idea. Take the most iconic one and just say, you know what, fuck it, he came from somewhere else. You're not gonna mind.
Yeah, we have a comment from Serial Killer who says, if the channel Dead Meat offered you to do a collaboration video of some sort, would you accept it?
Well, I mean, they have millions of subscribers. I'd be really dumb not to, unless it was something that was just absolutely abhorrent that would be terrible and destroyed my career.
All right, so Decker, why don't you read this one?
Okay. Hellraiser creator Clive Barker's unmade remake screenplay would have reimagined series villain Pinhead. Hellraiser became an instant horror classic when it first arrived in 1987. The movie was based on Barker's novella The Hellbound Heart and found a man escaped from hell after opening a mysterious puzzle box. His lover, who happens to be his brother's wife, feeds him bodies so he can regenerate himself. But soon, the demons who tormented him come looking to pull him back. Barker's graphic blood-soaked vision was startling audiences and introduced Pinhead, Doug Bradley, to the Horror Villain Hall of Fame. Pinhead isn't even named in the movie and instead credited as lead Cenobite, but his unforgettable look soon saw him become the mascot of the series. His part became even bigger in each subsequent sequel, but after the lackluster box office of 1996's Hellraiser Bloodlines, the series then went straight to video. That was the last one that I considered kind of good. Pinhead himself made a little more than cameos in most of these DTV outings when Bradley departed the role following 2005's Hellraiser Hell World. The most recent entry was 2018's Hellraiser Judgment. Despite Hellraiser being a famous property, the rights owners have struggled with bringing it back since its themes of sadomasochism, kinky sex, and explicit gore are harder to sell to mainstream audiences than something like Halloween. Numerous failed attempts have been made over the years to remake the movie, with Barker himself penning a rejected script in 2014. Now, Mr. H Reviews has released a new video breaking down how his screenplay revised the character of Pinhead. The second movie, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, revealed Pinhead was once Elliot Spencer, a disillusioned World War I soldier who opened the limit configuration puzzle box and was damned for it. Barker's script instead revealed the new Pinhead was Philip A. Marchand, who created the box. The opening scene shows the toymaker being forced to build the box by a brutal prison warden.
who then kills him and feeds his blood to the box upon completion. Le Marchand is then remade as the Hell Priest and kills the Warden in revenge. The script for the Hellraiser remake would have played close to the events of the original, but Pinhead would have been even darker. He would have worn white priestly robes, and instead of hooked chains, he would have summoned vines to display. Pinhead, use Vine Whip!
It's super effective.
To display just how evil he can be, one scene would have shown him kill an entire maternity ward using the mist he conjures. Oh, killing babies. That's always a great thing. Isn't that right, not Resurrection. Requiem. Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
Also, Pokemon, the Hellraiser. The Hellraiser.
The Hellraiser.
To create
There you
more
go.
Cenobites with this mist. Oh, it is AVP Requiem. Yay!
Goody.
Tying Pinhead to the creation of the puzzle box is a very interesting idea, and it sounds like Barker wanted to bring him back, his most famous creation, in a big way. Le Marchand is actually one of the lead characters in a prequel-sequel, Hellraiser Bloodlines, where he's shown as a good-hearted toy maker who is tricked into creating the lament configuration and accidentally damning his entire bloodline. There are currently no plans for a Hellraiser sequel or remake, but given the revival of Halloween and plans for a Friday the 13th remake, again, it's almost a given one will be put in development over the next couple of years. Whether or not Barker or his unused Hellraiser screenplay will be involved is another question entirely.
Yeah.
So, on the one hand, Clive Barker, it is his baby. It could be interesting, but that does scream a lot of Requiem.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole show how evil they are by having them kill babies. It's like, that's a really cheap way to do it.
Maybe he wrote it around the time of Requiem.
2014? Requiem's way before that.
Okay. Then, I don't know, maybe it took a long time for a final script. I mean, drafts do that. You know, you can go through like a 4th or 5th or 6th draft.
Pikachu, use lightning chains, says Corey to that. Oh, God. Corey to that also says, maybe Clive Barker is trying to kill the franchise.
Ooh. Oh, very similar to Clive Barker when he was trying to have, what was it, like a Nightmare on Elm Street?
Wes Craven.
Yeah, Wes Craven, yeah. With Wes Craven tried to do Nightmare on Elm Street, showing the behind the scenes of the series and kind of be very self-aware, kind of like end the series right there, and then doing Scream to like, no more horror movies, we're done. So maybe he was trying to do that. I don't know.
Decker, how did he get through your review of Zombie X? It was really awful. I think it was called Kraken Spiced Rum.
Harry Flynn says, Pinhead, use Poison Sting. Nice.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Chatterer, use Bite.
John Ratsey says, creepy, I love your retrospective videos. Thank you very much. Also, and I just lost it. Hold up. Dang it. No.
Tokusatsu
Okay.
EAP.
Yeah,
What's
the
the name of the creepy channel?
Yeah.
That
Man,
is-
creepy
that's
mind,
what creepy guy.
your otherworldly supernatural origins. We already established you're not a Cenobite. That'll have to happen another day. I'm still holding that in.
Technically, no one's a Cenobite at first. Technically, you could be a Cenobite later. It's not out of the question. I can't think of a time when someone is a Cenobite and then isn't anymore, except that one time in Hellraiser 2, I think, and then Pinhead was immediately killed. Or was it Hellraiser 3? Where he kind of un-Cenobites and then dies. But he uses his Cenobite powers while un-Cenobited. So he's still a Cenobite. I don't know. It was 2. It was 2. That's right. He was attacking the doctor from the hospital who was using the configuration and had the tentacle head thing going on. He went in and Pinhead kind of went back to human form. Went back to Doug Bradley face.
Kind of.
But then he went like, hook attack. He was like, and then it's like, no, stab gut. Okay, I'm dead.
All right. Well, let's go over to our next set of news. So, everybody seems to be going all crazy about reboots and sequels nowadays. Well, there was one that was announced many years ago, but seems to have kind of died down. But there has been an announcement regarding about the sequel to Machete, Machete Kills in Space, which is apparently still happening, according to actor Denny Trejo, who plays the titular character of Machete. So, Creepy, why don't you start off this other one?
Alrighty then. Okay. Way back in 2013, Robert Rodriguez teased the third installment, Machete Kills in Space, at the very end of Machete Kills, but he hasn't yet delivered on that promise. Still, both Rodriguez and franchise star Danny Trejo have been keeping hopes alive these last 5 years, and Trejo's latest update again assures us that, yes, Machete will eventually kick ass in outer space. In a new chat with Popcorn Talks, I Could Never Be, Trejo shared the latest information. Oh, excuse me, hiccups. Robert's working on it. It's going to be, pause, unbelievably crazy, Trejo told the show. Trejo continued when asked when we can expect the third film. I would say that, pause, Robert has his own timetable for doing stuff. I know he's working on a big movie right now.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna be seeing. So until Robert Rodriguez is ready, we might possibly get Machete really soon.
Yeah.
Now, Machete was a movie based around a fake trailer.
Yes, it was based off of a fake trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just spun off into its own thing.
They filmed a silly trailer for a silly movie that didn't exist, and it was so popular that they ended up actually making the movie. And it had the criticisms that, the movie as a whole, it was creative how they fit the trailer footage into it, but at the same time, it could have been better if it was trying to be freed of that, maybe, but it didn't hold up to the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I still need to see it because people request me to review it all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Scott Duncan, he was asking that we didn't finish the question regarding about which Saiyans we would pick. I'm gonna pick Gohan. That's what. Even though he's not a fighter anymore, but when he uses his his ultimate Gohan powers, then yeah, he can kick ass. I'm gonna choose Gohan.
Yeah.
Can I just be like the dragon? I'll just like show up when people are on that song. I'm like, what? Okay, fine. Oh, boom, there you go, and I just leave.
Yeah, I picked Piccolo. I actually liked Piccolo a lot.
I think he just said he wants Saiyans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know of a Saiyan that I really liked aside from Goku, and even then, there were times when I didn't. But I'm sticking with Piccolo.
Oh god, Spider-Boy43 says that Machete has Steven Seagal as the villain. Oh boy.
Oh man, that means you're gonna have to probably talk about it eventually.
And John Ratzi is like, you mean Shenron Decker. I called Mr. Satan Hercule. It's obvious I'm not the most learned in these regards.
Anyway, let's see. We have Ada Porsdottir. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Yeah. Suspiria? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. So yeah, Suspiria. Which one are you referring to? Are you referring to the original or the remake that just came out a few weeks ago?
I still gotta watch both of them. Patricia got me the original, and I ripped it in Italian, and then I ripped it again in English. So
it'll come eventually. All right. Now, actually, with this talk about Machete Kills in Space, I actually have a Twitter poll ready for you guys. And it's going to be on my Twitter poll. So this will be at twitter.com, and my Twitter handle is at Patty_B_Miranda. And my Twitter poll is, what horror movie icon do you want to see in space? Do you want to see Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Pennywise the Clown, or Freddy Fazbear?
Okay. Because I was thinking, don't say Jason because he's been there.
He's already been in.
Don't say the Leprechaun. He's been there too.
Yes, he's been there as well. So, yes, so the choices once again are Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Pennywise the Clown, or Freddy Fazbear. You got 45 minutes starting now. And I will post my Twitter handle and I will share with you guys in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to also retweet it and I'm going to vote.
Okay. So let me just do that really quick. Okay, here we go, and going over to the chat. Okay, there you go, guys. Have fun. All right, so, now some of you are probably wondering, why did I bring up Freddy Fazbear? Well,
as a horror movie icon.
There's a reason why. And I'm sure that some of you guys who are Freddy Fazbear, Five Nights at Freddy's, whatever they call it, fans, then you probably know that there has been talks for the Freddy Fazbear movie. And according to...
Jag of Jokester is asking, have you seen the Slash Street Boys video? And there's actually multiple videos now. And yes.
Sure.
Have you seen the Slash Street Boys videos?
Yeah, yes, I actually did see the Slash Street Boys videos. They were singing a version of, what was it, like...
I Want It That Away is I'll Kill You That Away.
Yes, that's the one. I did see it, and it was pretty funny.
There was another one. I can't remember what it was, though. I only saw a little bit of it, but I gotta find that.
I think there was one that I did see where there was like a take on the Monster Mash, and they were introducing the newer icons. Maybe that's an older one, but I don't know.
Jacob Kennedy is on topic saying, fuck, not Five Nights of Fox!
Damn. Anyway, but yes.
Demonetized!
Let's get this over with. Okay, so yes, Friday Nights at Freddy's. I'm sorry. Is getting console ports and possibly a AAA game. It seems only yesterday that people online were asking each other if they have yet played this weird new indie game called Five Nights at Freddy's. The horror game about animatronic robots has spawned about 8 different games since 2014, 2 novels, multiple toy lines, and an upcoming feature film, partly due to its popularity among streamers. There's still life in this series yet, though, as creator Scott Cawthon explained in a lengthy Steam blog post. In the post, Scott Cawthon details progression levels on pretty much every project on Five Nights at Freddy's. The movie, there we go. That's why I've said, the whole horror icon. For the movie, Cawthon admits he threw out the original script and penned one he's happier with, which has delayed production on the movie. He is around 40% complete on the virtual reality game, which resembles the repair portion of Sister Location. Cawthon also confirms that the console ports of the games are still in the works. This confirmation is important as they had one time been canceled, with Cawthon citing a bad deal as the reason. He confirms that the ports will be coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, the Switch, and mobile before too long. Don't you guys have phones? Also announced, almost as a footnote to the rest, is another project, a AAA game that is currently at 0% complete. Very similar to the Mighty Number 9, what was it, the 3DS port?
Oh, boy.
There is a big deal in the works to create an incredible big budget game, Cawthon writes. I can't reveal any details yet as this project is still in planning stages, but I'm working closely with the studio involved to ensure that it delivers what I think FNAF fans will like to see. A lack of detail will make it hard to speculate, but it's interesting to know that there is apparently a big budget game in the works. What form do you think a AAA Five Nights at Freddy's game takes? Do we even want one? I've been seeing a lot of people who talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, and they've requested for me to play it, and I was like, no, I don't want to play it. This does not look like something I would enjoy.
Michael Quinn mentioned on the Slash Street Boys, Everybody was the other song that they parody. Like, yes, that's it. Yes, that's the one I heard. But also, Jacob Kennedy says, I'd rather have my dick cut off than watch that movie. Patrick Johnson says, why is Five Nights at Freddy's still a thing? Just let it die, Scott. Let it die!
Let it die, let it die, let it shrivel up and... oh, God, I made a Lorax reference. I deserve to be punished.
John Ratsey says, down with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
I'm not.
I've never played Five Nights at Freddy's. I know exactly what it is.
Me too.
I-
But I've never played it.
It's never really interested me. It doesn't look like the kind of gameplay I'm too interested in. And I mean, it doesn't look the scariest to me because it seems to rely almost entirely on jump scares.
Which we'll actually discuss about for a particular article that I found an hour ago.
Oh, cool. Because I mean, it's funny because I'll watch all these horror movies and such, and I'll be in the other room with my fiance watching them, and there's jump scares that come on, and they like get her every time. She doesn't get scared, but it startles her and it pisses her off. But I'm just so used to it. She's jumping in her chair, and I'm just like completely stone faced. She's like, "Ah!" Oh yeah, that was a jump scare.
As for me, I think I did see like one clip of it to see like, oh, what's the big deal? And then there was like this thing jumping and screaming. I was more annoyed with the fact that it was just screaming so loud that it like pierced my eardrums. I didn't find it scary. I found it annoying.
It's
Right.
just the thing. It's like it's in your face and screaming and loud, and suddenly, oh my god, you're dead.
Mhm.
But also, one of the reasons Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, actually does work as a horror game is that it does have legitimate challenge to it.
Mm-hmm.
You lose. It's bad. It's not like, oh, well, that's a little oopsie. Now go back 2 seconds and try again. No, you lose in Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a challenge getting back to where you were.
Nerdbane dropped $5 in Super Chat and said, cast Nicolas Cage to star in it, and there will be a 50-50 chance Five Nights at Freddy's would be watchable.
Star as Freddy Fazbear or star as the guy who's watching all the monitors and flipping the switches to try and make sure he doesn't get killed by the haunted mascot of a pizza place.
Also, I wonder if, like, what are they rooting for Nicolas Cage to survive to the end or to be killed by animatronic bears?
Now, the bear's going to come to him and he's just going to punch it in the face. I've seen him do it.
That would be amazing. Maybe he can kill the franchise. Then Nicolas Cage will be cited as a hero.
And people will finally forgive him.
Nerdbane says Nicolas Cage will star in all roles.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
Ken maybe says that Uwe Boll better be attached to direct. Then it will be in space.
Five Nights at Freddy's in space.
And it was only a matter of time. Jacob Kennedy says, not the face! Not the face!
I'm imagining Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria as like something out of the Jetsons, like a space station that delivers pizza in space shuttles. And there
Scott
are
Duncan says, Nicolas Cage versus Tommy Wiseau in a Freddy Fazbear suit.
Oh, hi, Freddy Fazbear. How is your sex life?
What a lovely story, Mark.
You're tearing me apart!
Little Nelly!
all right.
God.
We're done.
I mean, like, worse, that or what turned out to be the main antagonist in the Digimon Adventure 2 having a strange resemblance to Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, God. Wences Acosta says, Decker, I'm about to go on a Wishmaster binge. How much beer will I need to get through 3 and 4? Oh, man.
I would say 3 bottles of beer, 5 shots of vodka, and maybe a gin tonic for good measures.
Oh, it's got to be something you can pace yourself with, because otherwise he's just going to... It's going to be death. Gin is a nice suggestion because it's strong, but it's also... Has anyone here ever tasted gin?
Once.
Yeah, it's like drinking a Christmas tree, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually.
A nice bottle of gin used to be in the refrigerator. This was like a decade ago. And gin doesn't agree with my stomach for some reason. Like, it doesn't go down as smoothly. Like, I've drank vodka, I've drank rum. I love rum. I've drank schnapps, but gin is just kind of like, my stomach is like, oh, this is back again. Out!
Ken maybe says that gin tastes like fucking ass, and I disagree. I find ass more palatable.
Considering of all the movies that you watch,
personal
I
experience,
think pretty
apparently.
Anyway, yeah. So
Oh, please, no, Decker, continue. Tell us more about how exactly you know that.
Well, I'm just saying, for specifically how much beer you will need to get through the Wishmaster series, I would suggest a case of 32, something that you can pace yourself with and have plenty of on hand, but you're not going to have too great of a risk of drinking too many at a single time and ending up with alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. Satoshi Kasamoto says, here's a challenge. Watch the Paranormal Activity movies without any beer. Well, here's a challenge. How about maybe a couple of milkshakes, and then maybe when you reach over to Paranormal Activity, whatever movie that they're up to now, like 4, 5, 6, I don't know. Maybe you'll be in a sugar coma.
Kevin Schaefer says, jealous that you guys can drink. If I drink, I will die. And that is
I rarely drink. I only do it for like maybe special occasions, like a holiday or for something like that.
Like to be social or something. Yeah, I haven't drank anything in a long time. It's just, I haven't gone out to get it, or I haven't had really a reason to, throw one back. But I'll probably drink, probably before New Year's Day. I though I feel like, Decker, you are incorrect. I feel like for watching Wishmaster 3 and 4, you should drink half a bottle of vodka, pass out cold, and then miss both of those movies playing back to back.
Damn it! That's way better. You're going to enjoy yourself a lot more. Tomorrow you're going to be in pain, but it's not going to be the same kind of pain that will follow you for the rest of your life if you did actually pay attention to the end of 3, and especially all of 4.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's continue on. So, okay. So a little bit of an update. So last time we discussed about how 3 out of the 4 DLC for Final Fantasy 15 was canceled. Well, a recent update regarding about that was that somebody memorialized 3 out of the 4 DLC ports in a mod, courtesy of a particular fan, which we'll be reading about.
Dr. Doom is asking, how do you watch the 4th movie when you're passed out drunk to 3? And that's simple. You queue it up.
Oh my God. All right. So, yeah, whose turn is it to read?
I think it's mine.
Go ahead.
I want to say it's Decker's, yeah.
Okay. Last week, it was announced that 75% of Final Fantasy XV's upcoming downloadable content was canceled. This past spring, it was announced that there were 4 more DLC episodes called Arden, Arena, Luna, and Noctis. Only Arden remains, and it's slated for March 2019. The others have been killed off. Requiescent in pace. What's that mean?
Rest in peace.
Oh. Okay. As GameSpark via US Gamer and DSOG points out, modder Mr. Saturn 241. Yes, I can still read. Created these Final Fantasy 15 DLC memorial tombstones. I could handle the loss of the episodes fairly well, but after hearing that Windows Edition production had concluded, it was like another more painful slap in the face, wrote Mr. Saturn 241 on Steam. The level building tool and an improved mod organizer that could actually handle game's assets would have been a perfect send-off for the many people that were promised these tools when they bought the PC version. Now that the story expansion of Final Fantasy 15 has been harshly curtailed by all these cancellations, at least having the modding tools would be some consultation.
And this is what it looks
Consolation.
like.
Consolation.
Aww.
Consolation.
Mm-hmm.
Consolement.
Here lies consumer trust. Oh.
Yeah. So, and there's a more detailed look right over here. Here lies episode Luna. We hardly knew you, Luna. R.I.P. And there's the stuff in the back. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yes, very, very sorry for those who are looking forward to the Final Fantasy DLC. We have a $2 comment from Devious Minds who says, Decker, will you do Child's Play?
No,
You're
Creepy will.
bringing this up just to watch me freak out, don't you?
Creepy, you are doing Child's Play.
No, I am not.
Yes, you are. And we are bringing a little puppet for the
No.
crossover.
Ooh,
Yes,
yay.
yes. You love puppets. They're in the show all the time.
That's different. Don't say it is. Get used to it.
Oh, God.
Okay.
So
So yes. Anyway, also some more sad news regarding about video games and cancellations. This is one that like genuinely like broke my heart because I really wanted people who have not played this game to actually give it a shot. That's not anywhere PC. If I could find the article, here it is. Okay, so one of my favorite games that came out last year was Hollow Knight. I'm a huge fan of Metroidvanias, and I was really excited when I heard that there were going to be some more releases other than Steam and other, PC ports. But sadly, as of a few days ago, or at least when I found this article, the physical releases of Hollow Knight has been canceled. So yeah, you're not going to be getting any Switch, PlayStation 4, or Xbox One ports of it, which is very unfortunate.
Or just a physical release, or
Yeah, a physical release. You can only get a digital release.
well, that's fine. But still, it's nice to have a physical game. There's a thing about it. It's
Yes, and in fact, I did actually find an article regarding about that. So
okay.
we'll get to that. Okay, Creepy, it's your turn.
Alrighty then. A few months ago, Team Cherry announced that bug-based Metroidvania Hollow Knight would be getting physical versions on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch. The game was already available on their respective digital stores as well as PC, but a retail version puts the game on store shelves and lets collectors put something on their own shelves at home, like you do. Unfortunately, it seems that this is not to be the case any longer. Late last week, Skybound Games announced on Twitter that the physical release of Hollow Knight will be canceled, though they did not give any reasons why. Shame on them.
Okay. Yeah. It says on their Twitter, we are saddened to share that we'll no longer be working with Team Cherry Games to bring Hollow Knight to new platforms. We absolutely love the game and wish Team Cherry continued success. We look forward to seeing what's next for them. So that's what they said.
That sounds an awful lot like when Ginger Spice left the Spice Girls. You know, we love her, we wish her the best, and you were all just looking at their faces and going, "Yeah, you really hate this woman and want to die in a fire." I'm reading this and I'm getting kind of the same vibe. Like, I feel like some major behind the scenes shit went down.
Did you see the announcement video of the Spice Girls going to be going on a world tour again? It was on their Facebook page, and everybody was like asking, what happened to Ginger Spice, where she's at, and they were like, Victoria Beckman, she is no longer associated with the Spice Girls because she's off doing her own thing. She's married to one of the biggest soccer stars in the universe, and she has a family to take care of. So it makes sense.
Scott Duncan says, no Firefly Season 2, Final Fantasy DLC, and now this, but we got Batman versus Superman in Mighty Number 9.
Yes.
Oh, boy. So yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much it. This makes me sad because I really liked Hollow Knight and I wanted more people to get acquainted with the game, but sadly the only way you can do it is if you have a PC port. But
we got a question from Draven Dew asking, what is your opinion on Article 13 and the effects this might have on other countries and YouTube channels like yourself?
Oh, that's a really good question. So yeah, I've been hearing a lot about Article 13 lately. I'm sure that I can probably find an article about it while we discuss about our other topics. But yeah, I think that's something that we can definitely talk about. But yeah, let's see. There's in the chat they're talking about what are our thoughts on Leprechaun Returns, and we actually do have an article discussing about Leprechaun Returns. As a matter of fact, yeah, because the trailer of it came out. So yeah, let's actually pull it up right now, shall we? So yeah, let's see. Here we go. Your favorite killer leprechaun is back in Leprechaun Returns, a sequel to the original. So, yeah, here we go. Dicker, you can check this one out.
Right? We're thinking we won't be getting a Jennifer Aniston cameo. As we recently told you, Lionsgate franchise reboot Leprechaun Returns will be arriving on digital and on demand on December 11, 2018 on WWF with Stephen Kotowski down and directed The Void. Film serving as a sequel to the original Leprechaun today brings the official trailer of the film, giving us our first taste of actor Lyndon Portico as the title character. Also, Draven Do dropped $5. Hey, Decker and Creepy, what are your opinions on Article 13 and in the EU and has effects it might have on channels like yours and here in the States?
Yeah,
Right.
we'll definitely talk about that.
We will be discussing that in a bit.
I mean, like, it's YouTube-related news, so we have to have at least one, terrible thing that YouTube is doing per show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, we're bummed that Warwick Davies isn't back, but it's looking like Porco totally nailed this role. Be short and kill people. All around, this one looks like a fun time, very much in line with the silliness of the previous Leprechaun films. It's rated R, and with Kostansky at the helm, we're thinking we'll be getting some good gore out of this one. The first trailer, however, hides those gory bits. In the brand new sequel, the deadly wisecracking leprechaun is back in all his gory glory, where the sorority sisters of the Upsilon House decide to go green and use an old well as their water source. They unwittingly awaken a pint-sized green-clad monster. The leprechaun wants a pot of gold buried near the sorority house, but first, he must recover his powers with a killing spree, and only the girls of the AU can stop him. Well, I'm pretty sure he can be stopped in multiple ways, but okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Leprechaun.
he was like stopped by a kid who shoved a marshmallow down his throat with the four-leaf clover, and he died.
Yeah.
Right.
Leprechaun Returns co-stars Mark Holton reprising the role of Ozzy. Check out the trailer and post art below via EU.
Yes, via EU. So yeah, there you go. So that's pretty much it. As for thoughts about this particular movie being a sequel to the original, which will be one of those cases very similar to Godzilla and more recent horror remakes, in which it's going to stick to taking place after the original, and all the other sequels are pretty much non-existent.
Ken Maybe says, just punk the little motherfucker. Patrick Johnson, fuck you, Lucky Charms.
One thing I do like about
And Spider-Boy 43, I'm pretty sure it's more than that.
One thing I did like about the concept of the Leprechaun movies, more than the execution, was the idea that they play up on the myths about the fair folk. And, people laugh because of Disney isn't totally to blame for this, but, the watered down kiddie versions of leprechauns. Like, if you go back to the original myths about them, they're pretty horrifying, But I mean, a lot more terrifying than people give them credit for. So, I can say, okay, yeah, if nothing else, kudos for that.
Yeah, kudos. All right. We'll be covering our YouTube news a little bit early because there are people who want to know about our thoughts on Article 13. So I'm actually going to bring it up right now. I just found an article just like 2 minutes ago from Electronic Frontier Foundation, or F. Article 13. If you want to force Google to pay artists more, force Google to pay artists more. Repeat. Again. The European Union is fumbling towards a final draft of the new Copyright in the Digital Single Market Directive, including the controversial Article 13, which requires all but the smallest online platforms to set up crowdsourced databases of copyright works and censor anything a user posts that matches or partially matches the content of these databases. This is a system that is ripe for abuse. Where more modest versions of these blacklist systems exist, artists find themselves targeted by fraudsters who remove their work from their platforms they rely on to earn their livings, impersonating them and sending copyright takedowns in their names, which we did actually discuss about in a previous Live and Wired about various YouTube channels that you can actually take down a YouTube channel if they're stealing your work and claiming them as their own.
Yeah, I kind of accidentally did that. I found someone who was actually uploading my videos on his channel,
And I personally would have preferred to just say, okay, put ads on those videos and send them to me, because that is just my video. All I did was take the first 50% of it and copy it and paste it on at the end, which for some reason tricked the Content ID bot. Most of the videos weren't actually picked up by the Content ID bot, just a couple, but he had a shitload of mine. I would have been fine just putting ads on it and just saying, okay, it's another way people can find my videos. Well, it's fine with me. It's not like they can get the newest videos of mine anywhere but from me. But the only option YouTube gave me was to just report the videos, so I did, and oops-a-daisy, I kind of gave him about, 3 strikes, you're out. I kind of gave him 80 of them.
Wow.
So his channel got nuked, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad.
I had this happen to me a few years ago where somebody took my podcast of every person that I interviewed at the time and claimed it as their own. And then somebody on Twitter told me, hey, somebody's taking your stuff. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, yeah, somebody is taking my stuff and putting that as their own. And so I told them, please report this video. And like in 2 or 3 hours, the channel was gone. So, yeah. Have you ever had that experience before, Creepy?
Well, I think most people by now know that my first channel, the channel I originally made when I started making YouTube, internet reviews, was deleted in March of 2014. Yeah. But and this was like right after it had taken me like it taken 2.5 years to get 1,000 subscribers. But, since it was deleted, I spent some time thinking about what I really wanted to do, reworking, how I do reviews and the content I put up. And, now I'm up to, that was 4.5 years ago, and now I have over 9,000 subscribers.
It's over 9,000!
You just had to do that.
Of course, it's the rule. It's the law.
I know. But I'm really happy for you, Creepy, because I know that you really worked hard on getting your subscribers back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's continue on more of this Article 13 crap. Let's see. This is a system that's ripe for abuse. We're more modest versions of the. Okay, read that part. Okay. And yet Article 13 has no penalties for this kind of abuse. It doesn't even let tech companies refuse to accept future database entries from fraudsters who get caught repeatedly abusing the system. I can read it. Transparency will let us agree on what we're fighting for. Oh, no. Now I'm thinking about Mega Man X4. Right holders groups argue that Article 13 is necessary because Google is underpaying the artists whose work appears on YouTube, and other tech platformers are underpaying for their use of entertainment materials, which we did discuss about a while ago regarding about YouTubers and suffering from burnout. This is a debate that is muddled by a lack of transparency on all sides. There are no reliable numbers on, number one, how much money Google and the other internet companies take in from ads and subscription payments on the media they distribute. Number two, how these big tech companies pay out to entertain companies like the big record labels and movie studios, as well as independent and smaller studios, labels, publishers, etc. And number three, how much of that big tech company finds its way into the pockets of artists, and how much is pocketed by the intermediaries in the music, movie, and publishing industries. Monopolies laugh at copyright. It's possible, likely even, that if we knew the relevant financials, that we would subject to the money being distributed among the players of the industry. Let's assume that a full accounting of the economics of entertainment in the era of big tech displeases us. What could we do about it? We could create a system like Article 13 censorship blacklists. Entertainment companies could add their artists' products onto their blacklists, and big tech would no longer profit from these works unless they could offer the big content companies enough to take them out of the blacklist datas. And Draven Dew gave us $2. What is the best program you use to rip?
Well, I use DVD Fab, which isn't exactly cheap, but I got a lifetime little it's like if you get the lifetime total package, you're looking at spending over $300.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very reliable. Unfortunately, 4K Blu-rays, I haven't found anything that rips 4K Blu-rays.
Mm-hmm.
So the best I can figure out for that involves a splitter stripper that I can take an HD CP
2.2 signal and translate it to an HDCP 2.0 signal, and then put that into a capture card and just play the movie and film it like that, like like I'm trying to do something with a VHS.
Right.
But yeah, that's going to cost several $1,000s to do that, or at least over $1,000.
I use Handbrake myself personally, so I can't remember how much that is, but it does. I've only found like one DVD that it would not rip for some reason, and it may have been a regional thing. I'm not 100% sure, but the Handbrake I think is a better one.
Yeah, also a pretty good one to use if you're very low on money, because it costs considerably less than DVD Fab. It doesn't have quite as many options to it, but it is a pretty reliable DVD ripper. Would be Magic DVD Ripper, and that also has a free trial, which is pretty nice.
Sadly for me, my laptop doesn't have a DVD port, but I have another laptop that does. So if I cannot get my DVDs to rip off, then I do have another source where I can be able to get my videos, whether I pay for them or whether I have a way to download them. As long as I do own the DVDs myself, then I don't have too much to worry in terms of like, oh, I'm going to download this. Whenever I talk about my Nickelodeon stuff, I do have a lot of Hey Arnold DVDs and various, complete series. So I'm okay, doing so because I have officially supported the release of these shows. So very rarely I do that, but in terms of like, oh, this show has never been released on DVD and I want to talk about it. So, I mean, maybe that would be the exception, but for the most part, I do have another option to rip off DVDs myself.
Okay. Corey 2000 says on the topic of Article 13, the problem is the wording of the article, which is vague, allowing companies to claim anything.
Right, which was pretty much the same problem that SOPA, had.
And PIPA. And
everything else, like anytime they write one of these damn new articles or laws or whatever, they always keep it as vague as they possibly can, and just for this very reason. And it's just like, it's almost like these big companies wish the internet had never happened. It's like I wish we could go back to the days where the only way for anyone to listen to music was on the radio, or, with what we told them to listen to and what was on TV, and you couldn't use VCRs to record stuff or anything like that, because that was when things were good, and damn it, we don't want our money back.
Oh, boy.
All right, let me just finish this up because otherwise we'll be here all night.
That's true.
No, you're fine. It's definitely a great topic to discuss about because a lot of countries are going to be suffering for it. Especially the UK.
Oh.
They're going to be suffering from it a lot, and other countries are going to be suffering through it a lot, in which we won't be able to get any international viewers or maybe any international followers or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
Corey 2000 says that Article 13 uses permitted use, not fair use, and only classroom materials, quotes, and parodies mocking the original work. So fair use is vague, which allows freedom of speech, of course. So fair use covers a lot of stuff. Permitted use is stuff that is specifically selected to say, okay, you can use this. So, yay.
Yeah.
So the thing with Article 13 is it's something that's technically affecting the EU.
Yes, very much so.
But if it does, if that is what happens, then the only real choice Google has with YouTube is not have YouTube on the European Union anymore, which is going to really fuck over the Europeans on YouTube, European YouTubers. They'll just surprise, you have no job. And for everyone else in the world, it still takes a hell of a lot of potential viewers away. So that's bad all around. The whole thing with I understand companies want to protect their intellectual property, but piracy is already illegal. Piracy is already not allowed on YouTube.
Right.
It's really tough with the content ID thing that keeps assuming that I'm being nefarious if it detects that I have some kind of copyrighted material within the video. It assumes that it's infringing and assumes that I'm in the wrong, and I have to fight it the whole way. Article 13 just completely goes forth with, okay, well, this is definitely infringing, therefore you owe the federal government $25,000 because you broke copyright law. It's like, no. It's that kind of extreme, just go all the way right away. Just no chance to really make a case even.
Yeah.
And Nerdbane says, to be honest, Decker, you do look nefarious.
Well.
And Corey 2000 says that if the EU forces YouTube to follow Article 13, the USA could be forced to as well. And yet, if YouTube stayed in the EU and followed the rules of Article 13, they would pretty much have to enforce it on the US users as well, because everyone from everywhere is watching there's all kinds of stuff with how it's done before. Like right now, if you're in Germany, for instance, it's pretty hard to watch quite a few YouTubers if YouTube decides there's music in that video that you're not allowed to hear.
Oh, trust me, I've had a lot of my videos blocked on from Germany. Germans cannot watch most of my videos, believe it or not, because I've included some songs in some of my my podcast episodes, and they always, every time that I receive like a block, the number one country that is always showing up is Germany. So I'm not surprised to see when I look up on my how many subscribers do I have across the country, that Germany is amongst one of my lower ones.
I'm glad that Germany's in the country, though. That's really convenient. But anyway, Article 13, yay.
Yes, so Article 13.
There's not much I can do except complain about it, but I was going to do that anyway. So.
Well, I mean, there are ways that we can help. I mean, if there's any, for all of the Europeans out there, write to your local parliament or your Congress, well, not congressman, but to your political
representatives.
Political representative. Yeah, write to your local political representative. Try to see if maybe you can even start a petition so you can be able to send it over to parliament or such, and try to see try to find a way that you can be able to combat Article 13. I mean, if we were able to do that with SOPA and PIPA and all that stuff, then I'm sure for the Europeans out there, then you can be able to fight to save your YouTube careers from crashing down because of Article 13. So maybe next time on Live and Wired, if we ever do find a site that does help with the cause, then we'll definitely be more than happy to share it.
Kyle Edwards dropped $10 saying there is an upside: the death of Allier and Morgs.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so let me just check my Twitter really quick to see if the poll is up. I think that I do have a few extra minutes, but I'm just going to double check and see. Yeah, I actually have 7 more minutes. All right, so in the meantime, we can discuss about our next article, which I actually do have one for Creepy, because back in, it's based off of one of his retrospectives that he used to cover a while back. So a while back, he re-reviewed all of the Garfield specials, and he's already finished with them. And I know that recently was the 40th anniversary of Garfield, and I guess in honor of that, they decided that they were going to announce a new project involving with Garfield. They're going to do a brand new CG animated feature. Yeah. So it's going to be done by Mark Dindal, who some people might know. He was the director of Cats Don't Dance, Emperor's New Groove, and Chicken Little. And he is going to be directing this movie in Alcon Entertainment. And apparently they own the rights to be doing a feature based off of Garfield.
Kat Lunisk is asking, theater or straight to DVD?
We will be finding out in the meantime. So go ahead, Creepy, read this off.
Let's see. Mark Dindal to direct new Garfield feature. Alcon Entertainment's new Garfield animated feature has selected its director. The all-CGI cartoon feature will be directed by Mark Dindal. Emperor's New Groove, Chicken Little, It was announced today by Alcon co-founders and co-CEOs Broderick Johnson and Andrew Koskov. Koskov.
Kosovo? Kosovo?
Koskov.
Andy.
Something.
Right, Andy.
Yeah. Writing team Paul Kaplan, George Lopez, and Mark Torgove, Raising Hope, penned the script pre-production. It is to begin next month in Los Angeles. Alcon required the rights from the creator of the Garfield comic strip and brand, Jim Davis, who will also serve as an executive producer. Alcon's goal is to build a franchise of fully CG animated Garfield feature films. John Cohen, Despicable Me, and Stephen P. Wagner, Dolphin Tale 2, brought the project to Alcon and will also with Casso, Weber, and Johnson. Bridget McNeil from Amuse will executive produce with Davis. Director Mark Dindal has been captivated by animation and filmmaking since his early childhood and attended CalArts, where he studied animation. Upon graduating, he joined.
It's a great resume he has.
Right, he joined.
I'm trying to find something out about the movie.
Right, Fox and the Hound, Black Cauldron, Mickey's Christmas Carol, a special effects department for the Little Mermaid. Is more stuff about stuff he's done. Cats Don't Dance, etc., etc. Something about the movie now. Mark did all that. Comic characters have always had a special appeal to me. To have this opportunity is to make a film with a classic character like Garfield is a privilege and a thrill. Created by cartoonist Jim Davis, the Garfield comic strip debuted in June 1978 and follows the cynical and lazy orange cat and his interactions with his owner, John Arbuckle, and fellow pet Odie, the lovable dog. I've been so impressed with the quality of animation and storytelling coming out of Hollywood of late, said Jim Davis. I can't wait to get into production with the terrific team Alcon has assembled, which... Okay, I would just like to point out that this entire article told us absolutely nothing except that this movie does not exist yet, but they're going to try and make it so it exists. Yeah. Like, they told us in, 5-6 paragraphs, what they could have told us in one sentence. I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is all, Decker kind of summed it up too. He's like, this guy's got an impressive resume. Bravo, good for him. Something about the movie, please. I actually would, believe it or not, this is easy to believe coming from me, but I would say if someone is going to make a Garfield movie, be it traditional animation or 3D, CGI animation, watch the Garfield specials, watch the Garfield and Friends cartoon show, and read as much of the comic strip as you can. And the reason why I say this is because that material got what made Garfield funny. The live action movies, they didn't get what made Garfield funny.
Yeah, Scott Duncan says, the third live action Garfield movie. No!
You know what they were missing with the live action Garfield movies? They were missing Mark Evanier. Mark Evanier is a well-known animation historian, and he was a main writer behind Garfield and Friends.
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
Go on, Patricia. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No. I was just about to say that, he was the one that brought out the humor and the fourth wall breaking jokes and all that stuff in Garfield and Friends. So
yes, a lot of, he knew how to write humor that would appeal to both children and adults without excluding either. There were lots of jokes in Garfield that were definitely aimed for adults, that were aimed for the parents who were watching the show with their kids.
Yes, and the chat, Kat Luniska says, God, it's like those recipe sites. I don't care about your dog and husband, Sharon. I want the cookie recipe.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, and you're right, Patricia. Mark definitely got the character and knew how to write the character to be appealing. And one of the things that I definitely loved about Garfield and Friends is that he had worked on a lot of children's media before then. And one of his huge pet peeves, one of the things that just infuriated him was a show called The Get Along Gang.
Yes.
Which was a show about furry animals, anthropomorphic animals, who every episode is about how everyone should be getting along and no one should ever argue or disagree. And he was like freaking out over this. He was like, why are you doing this? What happened to teaching our kids not to give into peer pressure? What happened to them saying no to drugs and bad behavior and like toxic friends who lead you down, like some seriously messed up shit, and you're basically teaching kids, no, you should definitely do whatever the gang tells you to do. And so he made these 3 characters called the Buddy Bears that basically skewers this whole mentality and roasts it alive. And he loved putting the Buddy Bears in as many episodes as he could.
And they were like the highlights of the show they were just they were so overly sickeningly sweet happy that Garfield was just like, you know what, screw this. I'm not gonna deal with it anymore. And then of course, there's like the whole fourth wall breaking jokes. I think I saw somebody on Twitter posted recently about like, Garfield and friends were making fun of X-Men. So that was pretty awesome.
Ken maybe says they only want you to say no to jokes because they don't want you to know how much fun they are.
But yeah, that was and also another thing that was missing in the live action movies was that, what happened to the music in Garfield? And I'm not talking about like the background music. I'm talking about like, they always had Lou Rawls and Desiree Goyette and the Temptations and, all these, people in there. But, they try to, I mean, I think that, personally for us, somebody who we were, born and raised in like the late 80s and 90s, that we grew up with the 50s and 60s and 70s. We were accustomed to listening to what our parents, were fans of. And, we knew about the Temptations and we knew about, Lou Rawls and Desiree Goyette and all these people because we were familiar with it. But they just try to make the live action movies just so in the times that it just feels like it's there,
Right. I mean, Jennifer Love Hewitt is not a terrible actress, but I was just like, I did not like her Liz. Like Liz I was like, I kept waiting for her to say something sarcastic to John, and it never happened. Like never ever, like even if like in the comics, they did eventually start dating and I don't know if they broke up but like as far as I know, they're still together. I'd have to check.
Yeah.
On the chat, Patrick Johnson says, "We are get along, gang of Borg. Resistance is futile. You will be kind to everyone."
Yes, yes, exactly. And I can't. It had none of the snark and wit and razor sharp comedy that the cartoon show did. And I watched the movie and I was just like, screw this. I'll go back to watching a cartoon show over this crap.
Yeah, and even the second movie where they had Tim Curry, it's like, you screwed it up.
Yeah, and then there's like this. We were talking about the Buddy Bears. Like one of my favorite Buddy Bears cartoon episodes with the Buddy Bears in it. It wasn't even a Garfield one. It was a U.S. Acres one, and it had basically it was 2 episodes, and in both cases, Roy quits being a character on the farm to go join the Buddy Bears TV show, and both times he does this twice, and both times he ends up like being subjected to horrific treatment. This is still played for laughs, but it's also shown like he is subjected to this horrific brainwashing treatment on live TV where he's horrifically punished if he does not agree to do what everyone else wants to do. And like in both times, he finally snaps. Like in the first episode, I remember he snaps so hard that he jumps in front of the camera while covered in bandages because he's beaten up that hard and starts screaming at all the children who are watching, going, "Don't listen to these bears. They're dangerous. You should have thoughts and opinions of your own. You should do what you want to do and not what your friends always tell you to do because it's your own content mind."
Nice. All right, so
everything your friends do just because they do it. Have a brain of your own. That crap is not always right.
I'm hoping that this.
I laughed so hard.
Yeah. I don't know what this new animated movie, whether it be theatrical or on DVD, is going to entail, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. All right, but speaking of which,
I
ahead.
do apologize.
No,
More.
please.
Corey 2000 asks, does John have a dead body in his basement? Depending on who you ask, that's where Lyman ended up.
Earlier, he was asking what happened to John's roommate, who was Oni's owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lyman, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people don't know or don't remember. John had a roommate named Lyman at one point, and that was where Odie came from. He was Odie's original owner. Odie stayed, but Lyman just vanished one day. There's actually an episode in the Garfield show, the CGI animated series that aired a few years back. There's an episode where Garfield and Odie and John go looking for Lyman.
And
I think Bigfoot gets involved at some point.
what?
Yeah, so that's the thing that happened.
Oh man, that's amazing. So Twitter poll. I actually have the results.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay, so once again, asking, what horror movie icon do you want to see in space? So 21% said Michael Myers. 25% said Freddy Fazbear. 16% said Pennywise the Clown. And the winner with 38% is Freddy Krueger. Yes. We do have a few comments. Gritting Chimp says Freddy Fazbear without a helmet and being shot into the sun. And let's see. Jim B85 says Freddy Krueger, mainly to see how he could wreak havoc in alien dreams. Let's see. Brushfire Glow says Pennywise. They float up there.
But what
Simon
if
David?
what if Krueger ends up on Mercury?
That could be cool.
Does he become Freddie Mercury?
Wow.
Or is that
Sure.
too much of a stretch?
No, it's actually perfect. Simon David Fisher says, Freddy Krueger, as I bet some space-based death would be epic. You could basically do death by Star Trek stuff. Tied to the front of a warp space vessel, death by antimatter, death by being turned inside out by transporter, tentacle sex death. Decker's favorite.
No. No. Oh, jeez.
Okay, Robert Murphy.
Yeah, that reminds me. My gaming channel doesn't have a community guidelines strike on it anymore.
Yay!
Oh, awesome.
It expired.
Good.
They
Awesome.
never admitted that I didn't upload porn, but I finished my time. I served my time for uploading that porn.
Awesome. Robert Murphy says, had to vote for Michael Myers, if for no other reason than for someone to utter the line, I shot him out of the airlock 6 times. Okay. Jaime says, technically Pennywise has been there since apparently he's an alien.
Yeah, that's the idea that Pennywise is an alien creature that came down into Maine. It's just been hanging around and eating people in Maine. So it's a weird thing to say do that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much all the comments that I want to take a look into. So, yeah, let's continue on with our next set of news. Let's see. When discussing about Article 13 and about like pirated websites and such, I want to actually take a look into this. This is kind of like more lenient towards like gaming news, but yeah, I might as well just cover it here. So, here we go. Okay, a couple ordered to pay Nintendo $12 million for running illegal ROM sites.
Whoopsie! Now this is interesting to me because this is another area where it kind of skirts the law and it's understood how it skirted the law. So I'm wondering how they screwed up to have to pay Nintendo $12 million because the whole thing was, technically speaking, it is perfectly legal to download a ROM if you already own the game because that counts as format shifting.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you distribute the ROM to people who don't own the game already, then that is illegal reproduction and piracy.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Right, so whose turn is it to read?
I think it's mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Arizona couple Jacob Mathias and Christian Mathias have been ordered to pay over $12 million. Wait, no. $12 million to Nintendo for running the pirated ROM sites LoveRoms and LoveRetro.co. Oh, at least Cool ROM's safe. The couple admitted to copyright and trademark infringement and allegedly settled in a lofty judgment rather than risk losing more in a suit Nintendo brought forth in July. Oh, so they just settled in a judge? Okay. But trademark infringement, okay, they were putting Nintendo's logos around? Because, yeah, that's a no-no. Many have speculated that the high figure is meant to deter other sites from offering pirated ROMs, and indeed, many of the sites have shut down following Nintendo's legal action. LoveRoms once offered pirated ROMs of games like Pokemon Yellow, Donkey Kong Country, and Mario Kart 64. The site has since shut down and now only offers a simple message titled, "Apology to Nintendo." Dear God! This ruling is a major coup for Nintendo, who will take ownership of the sites and receive all Nintendo games and hardware still in the couple's possession. Wow, they're taking this shit too? Isn't the $12 million enough? You got to take your Game Boy from when you were a kid. You remember that time that you caught the Bulbasaur in the rain and you were so happy, like, I've tried so hard, it comes so far? Well, fuck you. This is Miyamoto's house now. He can remember your happy childhood. You don't got that anymore. Okay, this ruling has also included a permanent injunction ensuring the couple will not infringe on Nintendo's copyrighted material ever again. Well, technically, that's what you're supposed to do in the first place, so it's not really that harsh of an extra add-on.
Jeez, man. Like,
I mean, this is up there with the time that grandfather got, sued by a music studio because his granddaughter downloaded a song on his computer.
Oh God, yeah. No, it wasn't. I remember someone like downloaded an album and they were charged per song the maximum amount for copyright infringement. Which, if you don't know, the maximum fine is $25,000.
Ouch.
that sucks.
It says it in the beginning of every VHS. I mean, they don't have that anymore, but it's like a fine up to $25,000. They did that per song. It was one album, but they did every song, and they actually owed quite a fucking bit, which is really still fucked up. But
Yeah, I actually do have a question regarding about like these illegal ROM sites. I mean, I do know that as long as you own it, then you can be able to download the ROM, okay? But as mentioning before regarding about like what if it's never been released physically or digitally or whatever, and maybe you can't get a hold of the copy because it's really really expensive, like you remember how much what you call it like Earthbound or Mega Man Legends cost right before they were released digitally? Like they would like pay like hundreds of dollars just so they can get a copy. Mega Man 7 was the same thing, and Mega Man 8, right before they were released in the Mega Man Legacy Collection, they would go up for like hundreds of dollars. And for a lot of people, the only way that they can experience it was to go onto an illegal ROM site and check it out for themselves. And yeah, it's a very tricky thing. It's like, what do you do? Do you like download it illegally, or do you want to, have the chance and maybe you'll never even get to experience it? It's like with shows that were never released on DVD or VHS. It's like, what do you do? Do you?
well, I just say, technically, I have a copy of Crew Ball on cartridge, so I can download that. Thank you.
Yes. So,
It's legal for me.
There
You
go.
can't tell because it looks exactly the same as someone illegally doing it, which means someone illegally doing it looks exactly the same as someone legally doing it.
Mhm. That's true, I suppose. But yeah, I
And
think
yeah, Ken may be saying it's just ROM sites. They aren't illegal ROM sites. It's just ROM sites. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's why I was confused, because the way the law works, it's kind of like how during Prohibition, the manufacture and transport of alcohol was illegal, but the purchase and consumption of alcohol was not.
Right. But people who went into speakeasies to get drunk still get arrested.
Yeah.
and
know?
let us not forget about Napster.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Yeah.
just sharing.
Ah, okay, let's put it that way. Sharing, yes. But yeah, this is like still it's a very fickle thing, to be quite honest. So, all right, let's continue on with some other stuff. So, speaking in regards to George Romero, when we were talking about like the Night of the Living Dead series, so George Romero had a project known as the amusement park that was never seen, and there is works to possibly have it released to the public. So let's take a look into this particular article and learn more about it. George Romero's Unseen the Amusement Park said to be a savage masterwork. Restorations for potential release underway. Creepy, I think it's your turn.
With Orson Welles' The Other Side of the Wind finally having been released, I think it's safe to say that now George Romero's The Amusement Park may have taken its spot as the best movie never released. Arthur Daniel Krauss, a Guillermo del Toro collaborator,
That's okay.
tweeted about what... Sorry?
I said, you're okay. Continue.
Tweeted about watching the film yesterday, and suffice it to say he was impressed. Krauss called the film a revelation and Romero's most overtly horrifying film, other than Night of the Living Dead, calling it hugely upsetting in form and function. Krauss went on to add in a later tweet, the film is far too powerful for American society. It must remain under lock and key, never seeing the light of day. Adding, it was never shown publicly. The people who funded it wouldn't allow it, and no wonder it's hellish. In Romero's long career of criticizing American institutions, never was he so merciless.
I want to see this.
I was reading this out loud and thinking to myself, okay, I get the feeling that you're just winding everyone up. You're just getting everybody to want to see this now. Krauss went on to state that he would help restore the film and release it to the public. This is truly one of those magical / cursed objects that I cannot believe has fallen through the cinematic cracks. We'll drag it back. The George A. Romero Foundation's website is now accepting donations to help restore and release the amusement park.
I'll watch it as it is.
And for
Just
those
give
who are
me
wondering,
how's that for a fundraiser for restoration? We're just going to release it on DVD in low quality, whatever it is right now, and based on DVD sales, you're going to restore it and put out a 4K Blu-ray. Boom, done.
Yeah.
And release it to theaters.
Sure. Quinn's Brady's Import says, creepy, shout out my boyfriend Dayton.
Hi, Dayton.
Also, NH said Guillermo del Toro, but I don't feel like I should be the one reading that comment, considering my history with pronunciation.
Thank you. Guillermo del Toro.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the website for the restoration of the amusement park. So help restore the amusement park, an early George A. Romero film. You can select up from $10 to $1,000. So if you're interested, then donate away. And
they limited me to $1,000. Jeez. Hey.
All right then. So yeah, this sounds really interesting to see. You're essentially seeing a piece of history.
Very true.
A secret piece of secret history in secret, publicly on a fundraiser.
Secretly.
Secret fundraiser. I don't know how that's supposed to work. Hey, get money, but don't tell anyone about it.
All this throwing around the world secret reminds me of that Young Justice episode with the superhero character Secret. Secret. What does that mean?
Yeah. Speaking of Young Justice, that's actually a great segue over to our next topic, discussing about Young Justice outsiders. So let me just see if I can find the article real quick. Here it is. There we go. Okay, so click this out.
Ken's asking if I'm going to the site where the thing was filmed for the anniversary, and I don't think that I have the money.
None of us does. None of us does. We can't even afford good language.
Working on it.
All right. So
if the YouTube growth will continue and ads ever come back, that's just sitting there waiting for ads to come back one day.
Here we go.
We got the Christmas ads, so that's something.
There you go. DC Universe's Young Justice Outsiders Season 3 premiere date. Yay! Young Justice fans, the wait for Season 3 will soon be over! The new season Outsiders will officially premiere on DC Universe on January 4, 2019. The announcement comes in the form of a short but juicy new teaser trailer. While the trailer's main function is to reveal the Young Justice Outsiders premiere date, it also teases Apocalypse, leaning towards the fact Darkseid is on the way. Check out below, there's a trailer. We got plenty of teases that Darkseid will play a key role in Season 3, not the least of which was the Comic-Con poster that showed him front and center. The image featured villains.
Yeah, that is a big hint right there.
Secret. The image featured villains Darkseid and Vandal Savage side by side following their ominous alliance that was teased toward the end of Season 2. Also pictured in the poster were heroes like Nightwing and Superboy, as well as 3 new heroes fighting alongside Tigress. Speaking of new characters, we do know that Season 3 will feature Forager, voiced by Jason Spizak, as well as Halo, voiced by Zara Fazel, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Team members of Outsiders will include Static, Kid Flash, Robin, Wonder Girl, Spoiler, Blue Beetle, 13, Arrowite, Arsenal, and Beast Boy. The Outsiders
Beastie
will have...
Boys?
Yes, the Beastie Boys.
Boy.
Beast Boy, though.
Oh. Which
I'm
one?
sorry. Garfield, what was his last name? Garfield Logan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's Garfield Logan. Yeah, Garfield Logan, Beast Boy, not Beastie Boys, Beast Boy. Anyway, Outsiders will have the Young Justice team facing the threat of meta.
But who's gonna fight for our right to party? Damn it.
I don't know. I'm sure that they'll find some way that they can be able to do that. In the meantime, Outsiders will have the Young Justice team facing the threat of metahuman trafficking. The big thing in metahuman trafficking, producer Greg Weisman said at San Diego Comic-Con, so now everybody is trying to capitalize on the metagene. First world nations, third world nations, rogue nations, criminal organizations, you name it. For more Young Justice excitement, here's everything we'd like to see in Season 3. Also, check out a clip featuring Bedlam. So,
And Spider-Boy43 says, Creepy, you have permission to smack Ducker for that.
Thank you.
Ah.
Corey 2000 asks, if Beast Boy is powered by the red, why is he green? I think there's been many comic book interpretations of Beast Boy, whether it be like he was experimented with his father when they were in South America, or maybe very similar to Blanca from Street Fighter. He was around nature for so long that his skin turned green. Or maybe like, you know, I think there was also one in which like he was born green when, you know, they were, you know, going through many experimentations. I have no idea. It's different. It's comic books.
Dr. Doom says New 52 Beast Boy is red.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's
The
comic book interpretation.
The red does not refer to a color in the DC universe. The red is more like a primal thing. You see, in the DC universe, there are aspects of nature that are aligned to certain things. Like the green refers to nature, as in plants and trees and so forth, you know, things that grow out of the ground. And yes, much of that is green, but not every plant who is a part of the green has to be green. It's just, you know, the green is what it's referred to. The red refers to animals, fauna, and the primal urge to hunt and kill. So
Corey 2000 says, the red is ruled by the Parliament of Flesh, which powers animal-based powers like Vixen, Beast Boy, and Animal Man.
What he said.
Animal Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a character named Animal Man.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to remember. There were all those weird superheroes. What was the one? Lad? There was,
Lad?
there was the one that could pull his own limbs off.
Oh.
It was just he'd rip his arm off and beat you with his arm because that's better than punching you.
Not sure about that one.
Yeah, anybody in chat, let us know what that superhero is.
Arm fall off boy.
Arm fall off boy, sure.
I don't know. It might have been for all I know.
Yeah. Um, let's see what we have. Arm fall off boy, limb fall off boy, arms fall off boy, risk lad, the Gual.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look up Arm Fall Off Boy.
Yes.
Make sure, is it Arm Fall Off Boy?
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Matter Eater Lad. I remember that
Yeah,
character.
that's the one I was thinking about. Matter Eater Lad, where
That's the
he
guy
looks like
who's
a
like-
normal guy, and
and he
starts
just
eating
eats stuff. Yeah. The Fairly Odd Parents even made a reference to that with
And yeah, it is
Chester's
Arm
character.
Fall Off Boy. That's the guy who can rip his limbs off and beat you with them.
Yeah. But no, seriously, I think that with Young Justice season 3, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really glad that, very similar to the likes of Hey Arnold the Jungle movie, that fan petitions were able to eventually get it off the ground, where so many other series were not able to for various reasons. Even with SWAT Cats, when they were trying to do the sequel of it, the Tremblay brothers tried pitching it to Cartoon Network and to Netflix and to Amazon and to Hulu, but as of right now, they have no pickups. They had a Kickstarter where they were trying to raise enough money for either a pitched pilot or maybe like an episode or 5 episodes. They were only able to make enough for a pitched pilot. And I know that they've been trying really hard to do it, but as of right now, they've had no luck. So, good luck for Young Justice season 3. I hope that it does really well, and maybe we'll even get a Young Justice season 4. Okay, so speaking of which, I was actually going to pull this off before the discussion of Young Justice regarding about like lost items becoming found. Oh, go ahead.
Color Kid able to change colors, Infectious Lass able to give you diseases. Well, that one already exists in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Okay. On the topic of comic books, there's a sad news involved in the comic books.
Yeah. And everybody's been like beyond devastated when they heard about that particular news. So, yeah, let's announce it. So let's shift over from DC to Marvel. So everybody's been knowing about it because it's been all over the internet. But yes, Stan Lee, the co-creator of Marvel Comics, has sadly passed on.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, whose turn is it to read this one?
I think it's mine, but I don't know if I should. At least I'm not going to do it in like all boisterous.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The feisty writer, editor, and publisher was responsible for such iconic characters as Spider-Man, the X-Men, Thor, Iron Man, Black Panther, and the Fantastic Four. Enough said. Stan Lee, the legendary writer, editor, and publisher of Marvel Comics, whose fantabulous but flawed creations made him a real-life superhero to comic book lovers everywhere, has died. He was 95. Lee, who began in the business in 1939 and created or co-created Black Panther, Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Mighty Thor, Iron Man, the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, Daredevil, and Ant-Man, among countless other characters, died early Monday morning at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, a family representative told The Hollywood Reporter. Kirk Schenk, an attorney for Lee's daughter, J.C. Lee, also confirmed his death. Lee's final few years were tumultuous. After Joan, his wife of 69 years, died in July 2017, he sued executives at POW Entertainment, a company he founded in 2001 to develop film, TV, and video game properties, for $1 billion, alleging fraud, then abruptly dropped the suit weeks later. He also sued his ex-business manager and filed for a restraining order against a man who had been handling his affairs. Lee's estate is estimated to be worth as much as $70 million. And in June 2018, it was revealed that the Los Angeles Police Department had been investigating reports of elder abuse against him. On his own and through his work with frequent artist-writer collaborators Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and others, Lee catapulted Marvel from a tiny venture into the world's #1 publisher of comic books and later a multimedia giant. In 2009, the Walt Disney Company bought Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion, and most of the top-grossing superhero films of all time, led by Avengers: Infinity War, $2.05 billion worldwide, taken earlier this year, have featured Marvel characters. I used to think what I did was not very important, he told the Chicago Tribune in April 2014. People are building bridges and engaging in medical research, and here I was doing stories about fictional people who do extraordinary, crazy things and wear costumes.
but I suppose I have come to realize that entertainment is not easily dismissed. Lee's fame and influence as the face and figurehead of Marvel, even in his non-Agenarian years, remained considerable. Stan Lee was as extraordinary as the characters he created. Disney chairman and CEO Bob Iger said in a statement, "A superhero in his own right to Marvel fans around the world, Stan has the power to inspire, to entertain, and to connect. The scale of his imagination was only exceeded by the size of his heart." Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige also paid tribute. "No one has had more of an impact on my career and everything we do at Marvel Studios than Stan Lee," Feige said. "Stan leaves an extraordinary legacy that will outlive us all. Our thoughts are with his daughter, his family, and the millions of fans who have been forever touched by Stan's genius, charisma, and heart."
I think we can stop it right there because it's a pretty long article. But yeah, it's very sad, especially since I knew a lot of people who really looked up to Stan. And Creepy, you even did a great video about the first episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series in honor of his passing.
Right. That was Yama actually came to me, requesting that we do that, and I was in favor of it. I had been wondering, if I should do some kind of tribute video or something, in honor of his passing. And when Yama brought up that, of course, I've wanted to take a look at that series. I've just been like, I have other stuff that I need to finish first, but I did want to, review at least the first episode for a couple of reasons. That was, Stan Lee. I say in the video that Stan Lee's favorite superhero character, he said on multiple occasions, the favorite character that he created was Spider-Man. That was also my introduction. I had watched the animated series from the late 60s. I saw a couple of episodes on VHS, and I watched I used to watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, on Saturday mornings when I was very, very young. But Spider-Man, the animated series that aired on Fox, that was what made me really interested in the character. And it was what got me back. That and X-Men was what got me back into wanting to read comic books. So, I was very excited to look at that.
Yeah.
And I know Decker has something he wants to say. He's getting antsy over there.
I am.
Yeah, you have that. Stop talking.
Okay. It's just the chat was saying, some were saying that they had. Oh yeah, anonymous bastard up there saying, "I'd always hoped to meet him. Now I never will." But I mean, that it is very sad that he passed. He made it to 95, which is a lot longer than a lot of people make it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like people kind of saw that coming when celebrities would die, and the celebrities would die, and it keep going and keep going. Sort of a passing joke became, okay, everyone form a protective circle around Stan Lee. So people did see that coming, as much as it's still not something that you wanted to hear actually did happen.
Right.
So far as my own history with Marvel creations, I was more into X-Men than Spider-Man for some strange reason. I don't know. It's just Spider-Man never really caught my eye until later, like after I had already grown up.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance, when it comes to we're talking about getting the Spider-Man game, and she was like, "I'm not really too interested in Spider-Man." We're like, "But Spider-Man." And she's like, "Spider-Man just makes me think of toddlers." I'm like, why does Spider-Man make you think of toddlers? Because they all wear Spider-Man pajamas.
Aww.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, you don't really see a lot of X-Men or Fantastic Four pajamas. That's true.
Kat Luniska says X-Men were popular with people who saw themselves as outcasts. I'm pretty sure that would work with Spider-Man too.
Right.
Then again, Spider-Man had a girlfriend, so.
Right. But yeah, they are correct. X-Men was more about people who felt like they didn't fit in, didn't belong in one way or another, whether you were of a different ethnicity, whether you were a different sexuality, whether you came from another country, or just, didn't feel like, just, on the outside looked normal, but on the inside, you just didn't feel like you belonged, the way that everyone said you were supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. And with Spider-Man, he was by himself. With the X-Men, there was a group of people.
Mm-hmm. Right. X-Men, Spider-Man was more of a solitude. He didn't really team up, very often. There were team ups, of course. He teamed up with the X-Men, but he didn't work with a sidekick or a partner or anything like that.
He had a side chick.
True. And, there's been many interpretations of Spider-Man. I know a lot of people know about Peter Parker, but, there's also Ben Reilly, there's Miguel O'Hara, there's
Correct.
Mayday, which is May Parker, who is his daughter. There's, let's see.
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales, yeah.
Right.
That's become like the second most well-known Spider-Man nowadays. He is super popular.
Right.
And of course, another one that's really popular as well is Gwen Stacy's interpretation of Spider-Man, known as Spider-Gwen. That's also really, really popular. I've seen so many people dress up as her in conventions. Let's see if I can think of anybody else. But yeah, there's a lot of interpretations of Spider-Man, and everybody can pick out which one's their favorites. And
in the chat, Leonardus says, "I want Spider-Man pajamas, but they don't make them in my size."
Yeah. Oh, and Spider-Ham, I forgot. Yeah, Peter Porker. That's correct. That's also a thing too. I like to say Simpsons did it, but I'm actually curious about which one did it first. So
I did love the Spider-Man 2 video game.
Yeah, that was a great game
on the original Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I played it. It was just it was on PS2, I believe, as well. But yeah, that was with the new Spider-Man game on PlayStation 4. Hearing that it pretty much uses the Spider-Man 2 web slinging, except it's automated. I'm like, yay and boo. Because it's like, oh, well, in the Spider-Man 2's web slinging was so complicated, you had to get good or else you'd slam into buildings and you wouldn't feel very superhero-y. And I'm like, well, yeah, but once you got good, it was really, really fun. You had to get good at it. Now you don't have to get good at it. It's just, you're awesome. Zoom, zoom. I was like, well, yeah, you feel more like a superhero, but I like playing games, not just pressing forward. Okay, I got a $2 super chat from John Horn saying #Skip Westcott did nothing wrong. Now I'm confused now.
What is Skip Westcott? I'm sure I'll look it up. But anyway, a lot of people are saying that Spider-Ham actually came out first, and then The Simpsons copy it. I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Because that would be something that the 80s would have came up with, a pig version of Spider-Man. It's kind of like how James Rolfe was, when he did the Action 52 video about like there was a game called Hambo, and he's like, oh, a pig version of Rambo, but it turned out to be not. It's like that should have been an awesome. That should have been like a pig. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen a pig version of Rambo. That would have been great. So, yeah, Spider-Ham or Peter Porker.
So Skip Westcott is a villain from an early era Spider-Man comic.
Oh, okay.
Oh God.
What?
It was a special issue character and was designed to warn children about real-world dangers. In this case, child molestation.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a villain, all right. Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, let's see if I can think. Okay, I got something else.
Oh, Jaden Herrera says it's Japanese Spider-Man.
Oh, Japanese Spider-Man. Yeah, I know about that. I remember when I first heard about it in college because pretty much everybody that I knew were huge anime fans. And then they were telling me, like, did you ever see the Japanese Spider-Man? And I was like, there's a Japanese Spider-Man? Like, what's the difference? It's like, it's just live action and it's pretty funny. So I looked it up and it's weird.
That's one way to put it.
Hey, Decker, tell them how you know about Japanese Spider-Man.
Oh, Creepy and I have been doing some projects on the side on his Patreon where we kind of look over certain tokusatsu series and just so happen to be on Spider-Man at the moment.
And we've gone through 6 or 7 episodes.
Yeah, I think 7 was. We did the 7th one recently, where Spider-Man faced off against the deadliest foe of all, the power of rock and roll.
Rock and roll was his enemy. Things
Yes.
really don't make sense. He's got a giant robot and a car and a motorcycle, and his
Yeah.
car has a machine gun on it. It's just there's so much insanity. And the thing that always catches me off guard, even though it's happened a lot by now, is how many people die.
Yeah, like people die a lot in this show,
and not just like, oh, his father died because he didn't have an uncle in this one; it was his dad, or oh, the guy from Planet Spider who gave him a spider. Yeah, that's how he got it, Planet Spider.
Mm-hmm.
It was introduced. It was like spider extract, and then it changed into spider blood. I don't understand, but the point is,
I think the show understood, or the translators. But
the guy from Planet Spider gave him his spider powers, and he died too. When they were both killed by Professor Monster and his army of space Nazi ducks and the space Nazi dominatrix sidekick, who is my favorite character, I should mention. She also is a journalist. Not Spider-Man, he's just on the motorcycle. The space Nazi, they're the journalist. Oh, but the damn enemies that are going to turn into giant monsters at the end, they have been killing people left and right. There was like some people out on the lake just enjoying themselves, and then fucking up from the ground, the monster, and they die. And then there's other people, just people guarding and stuff, just guards walking around, not bad guy guards. The hero always just does weird shit to, and you just assume that they'll be okay. No, good guy guards. So you see them get impaled and fall down, and then they're dead. They have died. The scientists they get killed too. Anyone, just fuck you. Spider-Man just keeps showing up a little too late. It's like, you got to work on that.
Oh, damn. Oh,
but
man.
he's got the giant robot to sell to kids, so he's doing something right.
If you want to see this in action, and if you want to hear Creepy and Decker's thoughts, go check out Decker's Patreon.
No, Creepy's Patreon.
Or Creepy's Patreon. Yeah. Somebody's Patreon. Go check it out. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna go to talk about something next.
Runs with Mooses says Turkish Spider-Man has weird sex scenes with puppets.
I didn't need to know that.
I'm not entirely sure this Turkish Spider-Man exists. I feel like trying to look it up just to confirm or deny this allegation. Okay. And then never look at it again. I'm assuming it's right, and then I will never want to see it anymore. Just got to confirm that this is true and spend like 15 minutes and then never watch it again.
Okay, well, Decker does that. I'll read the next article. I'll choose this one. Okay.
Save search off.
Ghostbusters 3. Apparently, it's being worked on again.
Wait, more Ghostbusters 3? Oh, goddamn.
Yeah, so Dan Aykroyd has decided that he's going to redo his script on Ghostbusters 3, even though he said that he didn't want to do it anymore after Ghostbusters 2016.
Okay, no one special is saying Turkish Spider-Man exists and is terrifyingly, frighteningly real. And Jacob Kennedy says, look up Brandon Tenold. I assume they reviewed it. Oh, boy. Okay, so Ghostbusters 3.
Ghostbusters 3, yes. Ghostbusters 3 script is in the works, says Dan Aykroyd. Creepy, it's your turn. Or is it my turn? I don't know.
I'll take my turn, and then you can have the next turn if you want.
Yeah.
The Ghostbusters.
I'm gonna go drink a bottle of bleach. Excuse me.
The Ghostbusters franchise is currently stagnant following the less than impressive reception of Paul Feig's 2016 reboot. Although the movie made tons of money at the box office, it was incredibly expensive to produce, and the financial return wasn't exactly what Sony had been hoping for. The film was widely panned upon its premiere, and plans for a sequel were reportedly scrapped as the franchise went dormant again. However, one of the stars of the original movies is actively working on making Ghostbusters 3, continuing the story established in the first two films. Speaking on The Big Interview with Dan Rather, Aykroyd said there's a story in mind for another follow-up film for Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and the screenplay is currently being written. Because Harold Ramis passed away in 2014, the film would bring back the remaining lead actors for the film, from the film: Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Bill Murray. I think Billy will come. The story is so good, even if he plays a ghost. And Dan Aykroyd also says, in reference to Murray's well-known reluctance to participate in Ghostbusters sequels. The details of the plot Aykroyd has in mind aren't very clear, but he's clearly confident Murray will be on board. It seems to be much more plausible now than in years before, as Murray did have a surprising cameo appearance in the 2016 film. The first two movies were written by Ramis and Aykroyd. Sadly, with Ramis no longer with us, any kind of sequel will be missing a key component, both in the film and behind the scenes. Still, Ghostbusters 3, with the rest of the cast, sounds very exciting. It would seem that now is as good a time as any to move forward with such a project, considering the latest trend in Hollywood to create new sequels to classic films. Thanks to Ghostbusters News for the info.
Yeah, so Ghostbusters 3. Thoughts?
I thought that was the video game on Xbox.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too.
Yeah, I was like, I thought that was the video game.
You know what? It's actually funny because I did a Ghostbusters podcast a few years ago in honor of Ghostbusters 30th anniversary, and we were talking about that Ghostbusters 3 was never going to happen, and then I offhandedly said, the only way that they would ever bring it back is if they ever did a remake of it, and then Kevin told me, shut up, bite your tongue, if Hollywood heard you, they'll be on that faster than flies on horse shit. And then when there was the announcement of the Ghostbusters remake, and then he said, I blame you. They listened to our podcast. Now there's going to be a Ghostbusters remake, and it's all your fault. And I was like, damn it. I've never seen the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, so I have no thoughts on it.
I actually watched that one with my godmother, and to be perfectly honest with you, I don't hate it. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's bad. It had some really good moments to it. I really liked the big brawl at the end of the film where all of the Ghostbusters are doing this battle march down the street through New York Times Square and just kicking all kinds of ass, throwing out all these different kinds of cool weapons that you saw them developing throughout the film and so forth. So I mean, that was fun, and it had some good parts, but I felt like, honestly, there were two things about the film that bothered me. One, I felt like the script overall was not as strong as it could have been. It felt like it still needed work when they were, before they started actually filming, and they didn't do that. The second thing that bothered me was that, why did they need to make it a remake? I think we've talked about this before, and I've given my thoughts on it. I said, just set it in a city that isn't New York and say that these women bought into the franchise. I mean, why is that so hard? Also, hello, Tara.
There's a kitty cat. Hello, Tara girl. Yeah, I still haven't seen it. All I know is that my fiance did see Ghostbusters, 2016. She's not familiar with the Ghostbusters franchise. Like, she didn't really see the other ones. Mm-hmm. But her mother really wanted to see it, so she went with her mother and watched it. She's also not a critic by trade, so she didn't really explain to me in detail exactly what it is about the film that she didn't like. She just told me that she fucking hated it. Mm. So I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be a Mighty Number 9 Mega Man 11 situation in which maybe when Dan Aykroyd saw the final result of how people felt about Ghostbusters 2016, maybe they got him the urge to rectify Ghostbusters in a way that maybe people will be okay with it again. So he's writing Ghostbusters 3 and maybe the fans will calm down or something. I have no idea.
Leonardus is saying, you did not like Ghostbusters 2016, you misogynistic bastard. No, I have no opinion. I haven't seen it. I still don't know. I just know that my fiance doesn't like it, so she's the misogynist.
All right. Well, bottom. Okay. So yeah. Again, this is just speculation of it happening. This has happened many times before. James Rolfe did a video on it called "The History of Ghostbusters 3," and you can go check that out to see the many, many times that they tried to do Ghostbusters 3 and it didn't succeed. So there you go.
Like
And that actually got me inspired to do my video on the history of Harold the Jungle movie, by the way, which currently now has almost 100,000 views, which I'm very appreciative of.
yeah, like
And
oh,
yeah,
go on.
no. I was just about to say, I just thank everybody for that. And follow up will be coming out really, really soon because it's the 1 year anniversary of the Jungle movie. So stay tuned.
I was very happy when I found out about that. If for no other reason than I remember how much you wanted that movie to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
I do remember that, but yeah, like they were talking about Ghostbusters 3 all through the 90s, believe it or not. In fact, Extreme Ghostbusters, the animated series, is rumored to at one point have been based off of an idea for Ghostbusters 3 where the other Ghostbusters, all except Egon, retired, and he trains a new group of recruits to be the next generation of ghost hunters. But anyway, we're getting off topic again.
Yeah, well, that's okay. But yeah, we're essentially just getting to the point that, hey, interest in Ghostbusters 3 again. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. We'll see. All right, somebody's bringing up, can you imagine another Halloween remake?
Oh god, I know that laugh.
Okay. Well, technically, this is not a Halloween remake discussion, but very similar to when we were discussing about the unreleased Hellraiser remake that they were going to change everything. Apparently, the early drafts to the 2018 Halloween movie were going to we're going to have different outcomes for Laurie Strode.
Mhm.
So, early draft of Halloween script change Laurie Strode's fate, according to an article from Bloody Disgusting. Okay, now that Dave and Gordon Green directed Hollywood has come and gone, I think it would be fun to
Halloween.
look back. Yeah, Halloween has come and gone. I think it would be fun to look back at an early screenplay that carried significant difference from script to screen. Last month, I shared with you an alternative opening that would have reimagined the original Halloween's final moments, in which Dr. Loomis would be killed by Michael Myers, which I'm sure we'll take a look into as soon as this one's finished. We're digging into Green, Danny McBride, and Jeff Fradley's early script that casts a vastly different finale. I'm just going to skip all this stuff right here. So, okay. Here we go. Okay, so here we go, right here. Okay, the film was that was the spoiler, by the way, so that anybody who has not seen the movie, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, the film was originally going to end Laurie's story as we were originally promised, and introduce her daughter and granddaughter into the mythology for more movies. The script doesn't promise a sequel, but it does end through Michael's perspective, with heavy breathing and getting louder and louder. Interestingly, this goes against the filmmaker's continual narrative that Michael was just killed at random. Green said on record that he removed the family dynamic in order to make it scary again. While Laurie might not be Michael's sister, the shape is now the Strode family's cross to bear. In fact, the filmmakers toyed with the idea of nearly killing Strode in early incarnations of the edit. You can see the footage from this big confrontation in trailers in which Laurie and Michael come face to face. In that scene, we're told Laurie was going to stab Michael and ends up having the knife turned into her stomach. She allegedly didn't die in the early edits, and therefore there were rumors of some filming taking place at a hospital, which would have been another callback to Halloween 2. So yeah, there you go. That was what would have happened in the early drafts of Halloween 2018. So there you go.
She would nearly die. She would still live, but she'd be more injured and then go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so apparently she would nearly be dead, but not dead.
Technically she already is. She's kind of, up there.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to quickly read about the other, deleted scene that was in the original Halloween. So I'm just going to quickly read it. Here's how Dr. Loomis was going to die in the early version of this year's Halloween screenplay. Earlier this week, John Carpenter revealed that David Gordon Green had planned to kill off Dr. Loomis in the opening scene of his forthcoming Halloween 2018 opening in theaters tomorrow night. While this didn't reveal any details, he explained that he had to talk the filmmakers out of the revision and felt that this would have been a mistake that the audience wouldn't have liked. Which I think that this is the one right here. So let me just see if I can find his talks. Okay, here it is. Originally, we were going to have Donald Pleasant's character get killed, and I thought that was a mistake. The audience wouldn't like that. There's a revision I don't think we should do. That was my one big contribution. I think that fans are going to get pissed off after that. I think I think you have to deal with the ending of my movie. Just start the movie where they did. I think that it'll be great. Turns out the scrap reimagining of the original film's ending was at one point going to include the on-screen death of Dr. Loomis using a Donald Pleasant's body double. So yeah, another thing they cut off from Halloween 2018.
Yeah, that would have definitely pissed off a lot of people.
There you go.
See, that's the thing in horror movies. You can't ever just kill somebody. And when you take a well-liked character and open a movie with them dying, that's really cheap.
Right.
And people know it's cheap. It's not so much that you can't kill Loomis. It's just you got to have a really damn good setup for something like that. You can't just do it.
Yeah,
Or, how about having, your protagonist for several movies die in the very beginning of a sequel?
What the hell? I'm sorry, this ASCII arts comment from 3003000030003. It came out really garbled, and then he responded to that with frig.
Frig. Yeah, I guess they were. I guess they weren't really happy about the outcome either. So yeah, basically the two things that they were going to do in Hollywood 2018 in early drafts was Dr. Loomis was going to be killed in the beginning of the movie, and Laurie Strode would have been mostly dead, but not really dead. So there you go. All right. So let's
mostly, but almost, except not quite really dead.
Yeah.
Ken may be saying I didn't even see the ASCII. It might have to change it from top chat to live chat because YouTube defaults it to we're gonna try and filter out as much of what we figure is probably spam. But I'm like, I want to see whatever anyone's seeing. If it's spam, I'll remove it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. Speaking of Hollywood remakes and, going back into 80s iconic films. So there was a poll that was recently posted by the Hollywood Reporter about what movie would fans like to see remade the most. And according to the poll, the number one choice was Back to the Future.
What? No.
People want to see a Back to the Future reboot more than any other movie in the lineup.
Now, it's not that fans want a Back to the Future reboot. It's that given the choice that you have to have some reboot, the largest amount of votes, but was probably still a minority of people.
Yes.
Pick Back to the Future.
All right. So whose turn is it to read? Was it?
I think it's mine, but I don't want it.
All right.
I'll go. Oh crap! I got a click frenzy. God damn it. I got a frenzy, Juicy Profits click frenzy. I am cookie clicking. I have a problem. I have an addiction. I need to admit that if I'm going to get help.
Okay. All right. Creepy, do you want to read this article?
I have to.
All right, I'll read it. Fine.
I'll have the chat read it.
Yes, let's have the chat read it. That would be fun.
I'll read it.
It's okay. I got it, Creepy.
You do way too much for this channel, so
no, it's okay. I got it. I'll lessen the pain. In the age of the Hollywood reboots and revivals, no sacred childhood property is safe. You think? The film industry is about making money, and if the power that be think that they can turn a profit by recycling a classic franchise, they'll do it in a heartbeat. But what are the marquee movie series fans want studios to revisit? In a new poll conducted by the Hollywood Reporter and Morning Consult, 71% of the 2,201 adults surveyed that they would like to see a reboot of Back to the Future. While that this should never happen under any circumstances for the sake that is all pure in this world, we have a few suggestions on how Hollywood could do it. Fortunately, franchise director Robert Zemeckis and screenwriter Bob Gale planned for that eventuality by negotiating into their contracts that no Back to the Future reboot or remake can be made in their lifetimes without their involvement, and neither is interested in such an endeavor. For now, we can consider that bullet dodged. Thank you for seeing that nobody wants to see this happen. Okay, so Back to the Future paced the field ahead of other series such as Pixar's Toy Story at 69%, which will deliver a sequel next year, Lucasfilm's Indiana Jones at 68%, which will be getting a sequel in the next few years, and Universal's Jurassic Park at 67%, which is currently in the midst of a sequel trilogy.
So people could vote for multiple things, I guess?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll pull up the poll in a minute. According to the poll, Back to the Future also led the pack when it came to public viewing, as 54% of participants said that they've watched the entire series, compared to Star Wars at 36% and Indiana Jones at 47%.
Well, to be fair, there's only 3 movies.
However, that's a bit misleading because Back to the Future consists of 3 films.
Okay.
While the main Star Wars saga will release its 9th next year, and Indiana Jones currently boasts 4 pictures. Not to mention there's the TV series and the movies that eventually led up to the TV series, the Young Indiana Jones, so there's that. As for franchises that are currently on hiatus, The Hunger Games proved to be a popular choice at 55%. Why? Followed closely by The Matrix at 54%, an offshoot, which is known to be in development at this very moment, and Avatar, we're talking about the James Cameron movie, not The Last Airbender, at 53%, which is getting 4 sequels on which James Cameron just spent $1 billion. There's a strong consumer demand for movie reboots and sequels, which spells good news for movie studios looking to capitalize on that nostalgia feeling. Taylor Sinclair, Morning Consult vice president, told THR, "Our polling finds half of Americans say that they are most likely to watch throwbacks and revivals. This isn't exactly a shocking insight, especially when considering that the most popular franchises in the past 40 years. Ask a group of strangers whether they want to see one more new episode of The Sopranos, and they probably say yes too. But rather than rehash the most obvious, most beloved choices and risk bungling the job, Hollywood should consider rebooting off-center properties and giving them entirely new spins, which is what Fox is doing with Jeff Nichols' Alien Nation remake, which Disney will probably bury after acquiring the studio. Or maybe we can accept Tom Holland as the new Marty McFly and we can move on with our lives." Okay, let's actually take a look into this poll, shall we? I'm interested. Okay, let's see. Okay, question number 1. Would the following make you more or less likely to watch a new movie in an existing series or make no difference either way? Let's see. 37% says much more likely. 34% is less likely. Okay, let's actually go to
Question response. What's HR1? What the hell?
HR1, the Hollywood Reporter.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I actually want to go over to where they said about the movie, so I'm just going to scroll down to see if I can find it.
All right.
Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see. Have you watched the following movie series? Okay, Star Wars, 37% said, yes, I've seen all of it. 38% I've seen some of it. 20% said, no, but I have heard of it, but I've not watched it. And 5% said, no, and I have not heard of it. Which
they are not human.
Okay, James Bond. 27% said, I have watched all of it. 47% said, I have watched some of it. 21% said, I've heard of it, but I've not watched it. And 5% said, I've never heard of it.
Who is the Hollywood Reporter asking these questions to if you're answering a survey to the Hollywood Reporter and you don't know about Star Wars or James Bond, and a larger percentage don't know about Harry Potter, and even larger don't know the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's a good majority of them that have. Yeah, you're right. Like 34% have never heard. No, 34% said they've heard of it, but they've never watched it. 29% said the same thing about Harry Potter. I'm gonna see like a really good one. Let's see, Rocky. Yeah, most people have seen it, or at least some of it. Oh, The Hobbit. 29% said that they've seen it. 21% that they've seen some of it. 42% they have heard of it, but they've not watched it. Hunger Games, that does make a little bit of sense because Hunger Games is a more recent franchise. Jurassic Park, again, Transformers, ooh, kind of like Dead On, Dead On. 30% said that they've watched all of it. 32% they said some of it. 32% they have heard of it, but they've not seen it. X-Men, oh man, that's something. Star Trek, again, I can see that. Matrix, Superman. Yeah, a lot of people have seen that. Iron Man, Mission Impossible. Yeah, seen all of it, seen some of it. Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean, Fast and the Furious, which pretty dead on. Thor, The Avengers, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, Toy Story. Yeah, I've watched all of the series. I've watched some of the series, aka 3. Shrek. Yeah, same thing here. Twilight. No, 40% says I have heard of it, but I have not watched the series. Good for you. Born Identity, Back to the Future. Same thing. Chronicles of Narnia, which most people in the survey have not seen it. So let's see. Die Hard, same thing. Alien.
10% have not heard. Uncultured swine.
Oh man, that was priceless. Okay, so let's see. Now let me actually see if I can actually find this of which one that they want to see the most of. It's probably in the last bit. So let me see. Scroll down. Okay, let's see. Do you have a favorable or unfavorable impression of the following movie series, Alien? So 27% said very favorable, 30% said somewhat favorable, 13% said somewhat unfavorable, 7% said very unfavorable, and 23% said don't know, no opinion.
But 11% didn't see, but that means the good amount just didn't know.
Yeah, 23% said they have no comment on Alien. Wow.
That's over twice as much as said that they never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Over twice as many that never heard of it don't hold an opinion. We got some winners here.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Now I found it. Right here. Okay, if a new movie were to be of each of the following series were to be released, how likely would you be watching Back to the Future? And 41% said very likely, which apparently that was what more people had voted on the most, more than any other.
Well, they were saying like 70s and 69%, so 41% being very likely.
Yeah.
I
think they probably just round up everything.
Somewhat. They're including somewhat likely and somewhat unlikely in the total number.
Yeah, and I think that they even asked each and every single one of them individually about like, have you seen this movie based off of the series? Have you seen this movie based off of the series?
It's like, well, technically, all of these could be a yes, so it means yes.
Yeah, right. I guess they basically just rounded it up together. So
yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking when I saw it was split up that way.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's your statistics, and there's your demographic, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, Back to the Future, most requested movie for everybody to see a remake of.
But the total amount who said it was very likely that this, you would say that it'd be something that they want. Just generally, like, yes, give that to me.
41%, still less than half of the people that took the test, the survey.
If we have no choice but to accept one of these, then yeah, we'll pick this one. But the answer is still, we really don't want any of it.
And there's people who they haven't seen Alien. They don't know about Alien.
Yeah.
They've never heard of Alien.
Yeah. 10% have never heard of Alien.
I'm dying.
All right. Well, Decker goes over and dies in the corner. I'll pull up our next article, which this actually will be cool to check out, creepy, because we did talk about last year about Sailor Moon, and we do know about the controversial final season of Sailor Moon Super S. Well, thanks to the wonderful people behind Viz Media, we will finally be getting Sailor Moon stars for the first time in the US. So, thank you, Viz Media.
Gender switching Sailor Moon.
Woo!
And yes, that was a thing for those of you who don't know.
I'm not surprised. I watched a hell of a lot of the first series.
Yeah, in the original Sailor Moon series,
I saw a soccer ball turn into a killer woman. I saw a soccer ball turn into a killer woman attacking them.
Yeah, so Sailor Moon Stars finally is going to be getting a home release. So, creepy, we'll take it away.
Right, it's like, hold on.
Go ahead.
Okay, when...
I don't want to subscribe.
When the original Sailor Moon anime came over to the West, not all of it actually made the transition. The final season of the anime, broadcast in Japan under the subtitle Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon Sailor Stars, never made it over in its original unedited form, until now, over 2 decades after its first broadcast. Announced over the weekend at Anime NYC via Anime News Network, Viz Media confirmed it would be releasing the first half of Sailor Moon Sailor Stars in early 2019 on Blu-ray and DVD.
Ken maybe is saying no one ever gender switched in Sailor Moon. Then later he says 2 of the scouts were lesbians, and it's like in the American English dub of it, they're just really close because they're cousins.
Yeah.
No, actually, someone in Stars, which again, like the article says, never aired in the United States. There were 3. The Sailor Starfighters, and they did not. They were male in their civilian form and female in their Sailor Soldier form.
So kind of like the opposite of the Yellow Ranger.
Yeah. However, that's only in the anime. In the manga, they were women, but they disguised themselves as men so they can be able to pass off as a rock band.
Right.
Yeah. Now
I can believe that in Japan.
Yeah.
Naoko Takeuchi made a specific rule discussing about that Sailor Guardians are supposed to be women. Right. So, yeah, that change about that whole the Sailor Starlights was an anime exclusive.
Right. Mm-hmm. She is correct. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Release of the new English dub that began in 2014, marking the first time the Stars arc has had an official home release in the country. And if I could stop here for just a second, I remember when Sailor Moon was airing on like commercial television and on like Cartoon Network, and when they got to the infamous 3rd season with the 2 lesbian Sailor Scouts, the whole cousins thing is something that I've heard people make jokes about like 20 years later. But there was a big question mark about whether or not the Stars anime series would air, and it never did. But anyway, moving on to the article. But it was something that people wanted to see back then. So they're getting it over 20 years later. The 5th and final season of the original anime adaptation of Naoko Takeuchi's iconic manga, Magical Girl manga, Stars, is split into 2 arcs. The first, a storyline original to the anime, sees Usagi and her fellow Senshi taking on Queen Nihilenia once again, but the majority of the 34 episodes adapt material from the manga. The arc features the Senshi teaming up with the Sailor Starlights, not Starfighters, Starlights, that was it, who in the anime were biologically male in their civilian forms before transforming into women to become the Starlights to battle the corrupted Sailor Galaxia in a quest to stop her Shadow Galactica organization from taking over the universe. You know, typical magical girl business. There's fighting, kissing, jaunty opening songs, the whole Sailor Moon kit and caboodle. But at least now fans can finally own the final chapter of one of the most iconic anime series around in an official capacity. The first half of Sailor Moon, Sailor Stars is set for release in the spring of next year. Sorry, my throat is starting to get dry.
All right, well, take a water break, Rigby. So yeah, I'm actually really excited that they're finally going to be releasing this because I remember hearing about this many years ago. This was like, a few. This was like when I was hearing about the Sailor Moon seasons that were never released in America. But this was before I had my huge marathon where I watched the entire series to prepare for the Casual Chats episode with Creepy and Yama.
Mm-hmm.
But I did hear about it, and I've always had the I've always wanted to have the opportunity to rewatch the series, but for some reason or another, I never had the chance. But I did know about this for a long time, and there were like DVD releases of Sailor Moon, whether it be with the Deke dub or with the other dub. I always forget what the other dub's name was, but the one that's like closely resembling what the Japanese was, but they still for some reason kept the Deke names. Like they were still called Serena and Darian and Amy and Ray and all that stuff. I mean, they still kept the names even though that they were trying to be closer to the Japanese, but yeah,
that's better than when they just straight completely the Deke dub just. Oh, I saw so many. I actually I had the series on DVD, and I'd play it with the English dub and subtitles, and the subtitles would be based on the Japanese script.
Yeah.
So you'd have so many scenes where they're saying things and the opposite of what is actually in the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm really glad that that Viz Media was able to take the reins of it because for the longest time, with the exception of the two dubs that I mentioned, Cloverway, that's what it was, the Cloverway dub. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, other than the Deke dub and the Cloverway dub, like nobody touched Sailor Moon for a long time. I think it was due to like a licensing issue, but eventually Viz Media did get a hold of it, and they were able to be the ones in charge of the English distribution, and they cast new voice actors for all the Sailor Guardians, and they were able to portray what it was in the original Japanese manga. And they also did Sailor Moon Crystal as well, translating that to English, which as of right now, seasons 1, 2, and 3 are already finished in Japan, but seasons 4 and 5 are still being developed. I think I did hear rumors that for Crystal, they want to have like a 1.5 hour feature film on both of those seasons, but I'm still not sure. But in the meantime, yeah, the final season of Sailor Moon Stars will be released in 2019, and that's going to be quite a momentous celebration, that's for sure.
Pre-orders open yet?
I wouldn't be surprised if they are. I'm sure if you go to the Viz Media website, they might be open.
Right. No, like the whole thing with them being cousins, with the final season not getting released, was something that and one thing was there were plenty of people who hated the Deke dub and did not want it on the air, but they were still pissed that there wasn't that they didn't bring the final season of Sailor Moon over and dub it either. So,
Yeah. Corey 2000 asks, who is best magic girl? For the Sailor Guardians, I'm kind of in a toss up between Jupiter and Mercury.
My two favorites are Jupiter and Pluto.
Yeah, those are good.
Mercury.
Yes. So there you go. That's our thoughts. As for any other magical girls, from any other anime, I don't have one.
Jacob Kennedy's just like Mars.
Mars is a great character too. Absolutely. Yeah, we only have 10 minutes to go, so let's wrap things up. We have a few more articles to cover.
We do?
Yeah, we do.
Oh crap.
Okay, so let's talk about another movie reboot that will be coming out really soon. So let's talk about the reboot movie based off of Resident Evil.
Oh boy.
Yes. Resident Evil movie reboot first script draft inspired by Resident Evil 7.
Which is not. I mean, if you want to go by the overarching Stars storyline with Resident Evil and all those established characters, there's like a little connection to Seven, but not nearly so much. But at the same time,
Okay.
that's like really crazy and complicated. But then again, that's how all Resident Evil games are. It starts off with a kind of simple, almost cliche horror setting, and then everything just goes Hideo Kojima by Act 3.
Sure. All right. Whose turn is it to read this one?
I think it's mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Screenwriter Greg Russo revealed his draft of the Resident Evil movie reboot, which was heavily inspired by Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. The success of the early Resident Evil games all but guaranteed a movie adaptation would happen, and George A. Romero, Night of the Living Dead, was originally hired to direct. While Romero's script was a direct adaptation of the first game, it was rejected by producers. Paul W.S. Anderson eventually wrote and directed the first Resident Evil movie with Mila Jovovich, Mila Jovovich was hired to play the lead. The movie was designed to work as something of a prequel to the original game, but following its success, the films quickly diverged from the games completely. The movie franchise spawned 6 movies in all, with 2017's Resident Evil: The Final Chapter officially marking the end of Anderson's run. He and Jovovich are currently working on Monster Hunter, an adaptation of another popular Capcom video game series, which has some pictures that look nothing like Monster Hunter.
Yeah, we actually did bring up the Monster Hunter movie a few weeks ago, but yeah, so I'm actually curious about how that's going to turn out.
Anderson's Resident Evil movie grossed over $1 billion worldwide, so it was never going to take long for a reboot to come together. Information surrounding the potential of the movie is sparse, though it's known James Wan, The Conjuring, is producing it. Now, in an interview with Discussing Film, writer Greg Russo discusses the time working on the project, including his inspiration for the movie's tone. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the franchise, so to work on that was a lot of fun. And they've made 6 times before, so when you come back to that and reboot it, you want to do something different and not just rehash. For me, it was very clear cut that I wanted to go back and make it scary again, like a horror film in terms of the classic James Wan style. So that was the pitch, going back and looking what made the game scary in the first place. So yeah, Resident Evil 7 was a bit of a touchstone for my draft. Tara, are you just going to be all in right on my mouse pad now? For Russo, getting back in touch with the horror roots of the series was key, though he also stressed he's no longer attached and isn't sure if his script will ultimately be used. I worked on the reboot for about a year, and then producer James Wan came in. My involvement in the project has kind of concluded, so I'm not sure what they'll really do with it. I submitted my draft to the producers, and they were happy with it, and ultimately they'll do what they will with the property, and I'm currently not involved with the film. The Resident Evil games became increasingly focused on action over horror following the success of the 4th game in 2005, to the point where they could barely be classified as survival horror titles. Capcom decided to go back to the roots of the series with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, which stripped away the gunplay and convoluted mythology to focus on scaring the hell out of players. The Resident Evil films were all about action set pieces, so it's encouraging to hear the movie reboot will potentially go back to the roots of the franchise, too. That said, there's currently no release date for the Resident Evil reboot, and as Russo himself noted, there's no guarantee his work will be used. There was also talk earlier this year that the reboot could become a TV series instead, so it seems the state of the project is still being discussed.
All right. So, yeah, we might be getting a possible Resident Evil reboot.
So yeah, the thing about the things getting crazy though with all the action and such versus the game, and I'm thinking, well, I remember in the game things getting crazy with weird mythology and weird scientific experiments and all kinds of crazy shit and giant monsters, and I was running around with a machine gun for a while, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I think that the big question is if they are going to base it off, at least the aesthetic is going to be based on Resident Evil 7, then I'm actually curious if maybe we're gonna have like a huge IMAX screening, like make it all realistic and stuff. People get into the experience.
I will say I did like the aesthetic of number 7. It did have a lot of atmosphere and a lot, it was a return to the early games where it was more about, the atmosphere, the ambiance, instead of just big guns and monsters to blow up. So, if that's what they're going for, okay, maybe we'll give this a try.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I remember playing it in VR on the streams, and people were a little frustrated at me because I was making the game not scary. They said because shit would happen, like a giant monster would come out of the corner, and I'd just be like pop pop pop, and like that's it. Like I didn't react to it other than to kill it.
Right.
Anonymous person 11 says Nightmare on Elm Street reboot or Friday the 13th reboot.
Well, they both have been rebooted.
Yeah, I think
and I like
about
the Friday the 13th reboot better.
Okay.
But they're doing another reboot of Friday the 13th, so I don't know how the hell that's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. And they're even talking about possible A Nightmare on Elm Street continuation because Robert Englund was interested in going back as the character. So, there's that. So maybe we'll even have another movie with Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. So I don't know. But I guess they're talking about the more recent ones that came out a few years ago. So there you go. Decker says Friday the 13th. Okay, we're just gonna read one more. So, we did discuss about in our discussion of Five Nights at Freddy's about jump scares and about thoughts on it. So, there's actually this really interesting article about somebody who is not interested in the horror atmosphere or the horror snobbery, as this person says. They want to actually prefer seeing jump scares in their movies. Which actually begs the question. Stop the horror snobbery. I just want my jump scares back.
When have they left?
That's a good question. Like a good point here. When did they leave?
I don't know.
They've been gone.
From Suspiria to Hereditary, the genre is increasingly ditching its B-movie bag of tricks in order to be taken seriously. But I was more frightened by duds such as Overlord and The Nun than this new monstrous Oscar bait. Horror is having a moment. Films such as Suspiria, Halloween, A Quiet Place, and Hereditary are no longer being dragged out and dusted off at Halloween before being kicked back into the basement for another year. Now they generate high-profile coverage all year round, often reiterating some version of the idea that they shouldn't be horror at all, but should be fenced in a subgenre dubbed elevated horror, smart horror, or post-horror. I don't like horror, the reasoning goes, but I like these horror movies, so now I have to call them something else. This is nothing new. The history of horror films is one long tug of war between the classy, critically lauded top of the market, where the monsters are suggested rather than hidden, and the schlockier depths, where the monsters are not only revealed, but run up and down the aisle screaming and waving blood-stained axes. While it's always splendid when horror is taken more seriously, it's a shame that less prestigious examples are still routinely dumped on by critics and pickier fans. Although this doesn't appear to have affected the huge profit ratios of this year's critical punch bags, which is including Insidious: The Last Key, calling it tiresome, The First Purge, calling it cheap-looking and spineless, Truth or Dare, calling it an execrable mess, The Nun, boring, uneventful, downright ludicrous, or Overlord, a futile exercise in turd polishing. That's a new one. But I got a kick out of these films as much as, if not more, than elevated fare such as Hereditary or A Quiet Place. For a start, each of these non-elevated examples have a heavy awareness of its B-movie status, socks over its high concept, and best of all, doesn't waffle on its bloated 152 minutes, unlike Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria, which is nearly an hour longer than Dario Argento's original. Although I admit I found The Nun quite creepy in places. Um, let's see. Oh yeah. Of course, as a horror director, it gives you an advantage. Like if Guadagnino, you are an Oscar nominee, an art house darling, and everyone wants to hear your thoughts on remaking a classic, or if like David Gordon Green, you once won Best Director at the Berlin Film Festival, so everyone is curious about your take on the other horror classic, like the new Halloween, and never mind if neither film cuts the mustard on the scary front. The media also finds it helpful when a director lays out his staff in advance, letting critics know his film is a reflection on the socio-political schisms in post-war Germany or stylistically influenced by the work of Rainer Werner Fassbender, or is exploring the toxic legacy of mental illness. Or is confirming that having her friends massacred by a killer in a William Shatner mask will leave a woman struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of her life. The critics grasp these abracus and regurgitate them, not bothering to explore other ventures. Meanwhile, non-elevated horror films get their release without this sort of media brouhaha, are wrongly assumed by default to be lacking in these things. It's like the 90s are all over again when the success of Silence of the Lambs slew to a big studio shockers, and then there was a conscious effort on the part of the A-list directors to be elevated. Columbia Pictures pumped up the romantic angle of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Mike Nichols decided he was transcending the horror genre when he directed Wolf. Robert De Niro agreed to play the monster in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Let's see, and of course, none of their films were remotely scary. A lot of elevated horror is too busy being elevated to bother with such generic nuts and bolts that are second nature to horror specialists such as Wes Craven or more recently James Wan or Mike Flanagan. Though I admit that Hereditary did have its freaky moments before it lost the plot and turned into a different, less interesting movie, and A Quiet Place was nicely crafted, although I did wonder why the family just didn't go and live by the waterfall. Critically derided horror movies such as The Nun or Overlord tap as much into the subconscious as the intellect. The genre's appeal to the gut can't always be spelled out by its creators, who are usually channeling something they themselves don't fully understand, like fairy stories or folk tales. The genre draws on a well of primal fears and desires, with the same themes recurring so often in different guises. They're often dismissed as cliche, but now they're being reinterpreted that keeps them fresh. Horror is a broad church with room for both the subtlest, most cerebral thrills and splattery gore fest full of cliche and jump scares, now designed shorthand for everything snobs despise about the genre. Now
Halloween had plenty of jump scares in it. More than enough.
It's the tension between these two extremes of nice and nasty that keeps the genre alive and kicking. Both
And I mean the
ends-
2018 one that he's talking about as being considered elevated because it lacks it.
Yeah. So let's see. Despite the so keep so both ends feed the middle, and to paraphrase a meme, if you don't love me at my jump scariest, you don't deserve me at my most metaphysical. So yeah, long story short, I guess for some people they prefer the jump scares and the over the topness of horror movies, while some people prefer the quietness and the atmospheric setting in terms of horror movies. So
I think that it's kind of weird. It's like the person wrote an article who likes horror but doesn't like how he believes that a lot of critics feel like there's this elevated horror, as he puts it, or as they put it, or whoever the hell. I'm out of focus. I'm back in focus. Okay, we're good. So the whole thing to me I think it kind of misses the point that the way I see it is that a lot of the well-known, well-paid critics out there don't like horror at all. They are not fans. So it's not that this is an elevated horror. This is a kind of horror I like. What I like about this isn't the horror.
mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so I feel like just like with everything, it's subjective. Some people can like one thing or the other. Some people might like jump scares more than they find creepy atmosphere. Some people might like
Corey 2000 says, "Why can't movies be like Applejacks? We watch what we like."
Yeah, I think that that's a great message right there. Just watch what we like. I mean, you don't have to be criticized for, if you didn't like Overlord and you preferred Hereditary, that's fine. If you preferred The Nun and you didn't care so much for the Suspiria remake, that's fine. Just like what you like, and don't criticize people who don't share your same tastes.
Oh man.
John Washburn says, "Hooray! Patricia isn't on a phone. I know, right? Yay! Just too bad that my laptop's webcam just went to crap. But hey, I'm actually on my laptop. Yay!
Hooray!
Okay, so yeah, bottom line, if it depends on what people prefer. If you prefer over the top, bloodshed and people being dismembered, that's fine. If you prefer, quiet, spooky atmosphere, that's fine too. I mean, it just depends on what you like. And trends are trends. This could change in a couple of years. We may be leaning towards something else in terms of horror. Like we could be leaning more towards I don't know, maybe leaning more towards monsters, or we could go back into maybe I don't know, maybe we feel like watching like black and white movies, and maybe we want to see a new interpretation of like those iconic monsters, and maybe we can have a new version of that. I don't know, but uh, it's a trend. If you're not a big fan of the horror movies that are going on lately, then I just say, watch the movies that you do like that are coming out and just wait it out and see what happens.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, what do you prefer? Do you prefer, I don't know, do you prefer quiet atmospheric movies, like if you were to watch like the classic Universal movies, or more blood and guts like slashers?
I'm just like, hey, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be reviewing next, and I got the RoboCop, the trilogy. So that's an idea.
Okay. So yeah, I think that we can wrap things up. I don't think there's really not much to say, so I think we can just conclude it, and Decker can start on Robo-Sember. I don't know whatever he decides to call it.
There's a Cybersember.
Cyber-Sember.
Yeah, that was the one where I'm going to owe him $2 in royalties.
Yeah.
But yes.
So there you go.
But yeah, so I got to get on the next review. I haven't done anything on the gaming channel or the Twitch channel for a long damn time. So I don't think Tara. Don't eat the plastic. I'm not going to be streaming tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe. That's my motion.
Runs with Mooses says, I want to see a Pumpkinhead reboot. It's actually it's Pumpkinhead. Yeah. That would be cool.
Excellent.
Until it actually comes, then we'll find out how terrible of a wish that really was.
Yeah, exactly. I will always remember the time that somebody, I think we were talking about, what was it, like I don't remember which reboot we were talking about. I think we were talking about like the Buffy reboot, and then somebody said, "Yeah, I'll wait until they reboot Charm." And then I showed them they were, and the guy was like, "I was joking."
Oh boy!
Yeah.
So
runs with mooses. Be careful what you wish for; it might come true.
So I don't think we're gonna have a Dino Summer this year. Maybe if I actually get back to doing one a week, I'll have a dinosaur movie somewhere. But yeah. Cybersember, RoboCop. It shall be done. And gaming channel, hopefully something tomorrow. There's a lot of new stuff that's come out, and I got Red Dead 2 of all things. I didn't think I was going to, but I did. So it is what it is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I've got to start reviewing more movies, and I have to play more games. It's a weird thing to have to do. I have to watch more movies and play more games and keep my camera in focus. Very important.
Mm-hmm. All right, what you got, Creepy?
Going back to let's see, I've got Gem coming up. I've got X-Men coming up. Going back to the Batman. animated series. So hopefully getting things back on schedule is the goal for, in time for the end of the year and hopefully the new year. So
Awesome. Well, I have been editing an interview for my podcast. I actually did get back Craig Bartlett, the creator of Hey Arnold, back as a guest on the show for the first time in 5
Nice.
years. And we were talking about the Hey Arnold Ultimate Collection, which is the entire 100 episodes of Hey Arnold the movie, and Hey Arnold the Jungle movie, as well as some cool behind the scenes stuff. So I'm actually going to be posting that tonight, and hope that you guys can check it out and support the Ultimate Collection if you don't own everything Hey Arnold. And let's see, I'm also working on a new video script. I'm not sure on which one I'm going to be releasing first. I did hint on Suburgatory as my next video, but some things may change. We'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, that's it for me. Oh yeah, and one more thing I forgot. Dream Machine, the DreamWorks podcast that I do with Aaron Meta from the Aaron Meta Show. I released The Croods, which was the closest equivalent to something related to Thanksgiving because it's about a family. So there you go. And for anybody who's interested in, DreamWorks movies, Aaron and we discuss about a DreamWorks movie every Tuesday. So yeah, stay tuned. That's pretty much it.
excellent.
Creepy, did you say your part yet?
Yeah, he already said his part.
Oh, did I say my part yet?
Yes, you did.
Did you say your part yet?
Yes.
You know what?
Did the chat say their part yet?
Yeah, they said their part. They're saying their goodbyes and more requests. Anonymous Bastard said, "Hey Dicker, would you review the Berserk anime movie trilogy?" That would be
That's
cool.
an idea.
Let's see. He also asked about would you play Calls of Cthulhu, which we did actually talk about in a previous episode of Live and Wired about, a game based off of H.P. Lovecraft's creatures.
See, I do have just an angry fiance, but also it's just come on, Steam, come up. There we go. Library. What do I got? Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you do have Calls of Cthulhu. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure that Decker will be doing Let's Play of it really soon. So
well, that's the old one.
Oh, not the new one. Gotcha. All right then. No One Special says short-term memories issues there, Decker. Yeah, I think that in the next episode of Live and Wired, I'm gonna come with cue cards so that Decker knows what to say.
Michael Wolf says the old Call of Cthulhu game was better than the new one from what he's heard.
Oh, that's too bad. It did look pretty promising, though.
Okay, so yeah. This has been Live and Wired episode 25, Detective Deadpool, where we spent about 5 minutes talking about Detective Pikachu and a whole lot of time talking about Dragon Ball Z and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, pretty much.
I should name these after we do them. But thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shado. And remember, you probably are going to need at least a case of beer to deal with Wishmaster 3 and 4, but the half a bottle of vodka for the first half of 3 and just pass out for the rest of it is certainly a valid strategy.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.